I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Education for Wednesday, June 8th, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for being here today. My name is Kathy Allen, and I am the Vice Chair. For those who don't know me, our Chair, Karen Bailey, is not able to be with us today. The first item on our agenda is a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as
I
presented.
have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Board reports. Jim, we will start with you.
Yeah, so last night I attended the Teachers Appreciation and Recognition dinner, or I guess their meeting. It was very interesting that some of our employees have had over 40 years of service. I thought that was quite interesting. And also, along with my other colleagues, last week we attended all three high school graduation ceremonies, and it was, I thought, quite interesting, not only the reaction of the kids, how happy they were that they graduated from a grueling four-year curricula, but the parents, I think they were exceedingly happy that their kids got through, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Rita?
As a parent of one of them, I'm very glad that he did get absolutely.
So, along with going to all the graduations, which I was really happy, and I got a lot of kids and parents said that they were really happy that they had it at their home school. It was one last time for them to all be together at where they went to school. But I also went to Project Graduation. Thank you to all the volunteers that made that happen for our students, from the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the optimists that were out there cooking, the EMTs that were standing by, just for everybody that, the bus drivers, the teachers that came out.
Yes.
Just everybody that put forth an effort to make a special night for the kids.
Thank you. The school system offers a lot of programs that most people are not aware of. And so in addition to all the things that my colleagues have talked about, yesterday I attended the ceremony to recognize, it's called the Gateway to Independence. The school system is responsible for students up to the age of 21 years in certain circumstances. And so the superintendent and I were privileged to hand the certificates of completion to two of our students who have been with us and who are transitioning to the world of work. It is an incredible program, and the students who participate and their families were very pleased to be here and to share in a moment of joy for each of them. And the two students who were receiving their certificates yesterday, there were actually three, one of whom was in Orlando competing with Special Olympics. And so the two who were here took a moment to share some of what they had done over the last year or so, and it was a very special ceremony. It's one I enjoy going to every year, and I've missed since the pandemic prevented us from doing so much of what we normally do in person. So congratulations to all three of the students who are moving on to a new and exciting stage in their life.
Thank you. I, along with my board members and the superintendent and many other employees of the school system, attended all three commencements. And it took hundreds of people to make that a huge success as it was. We could not have done it by ourselves. So I want to thank the people who contributed to the success of the commencement, and also to thank the educators who worked with the students over a number of years. I want to thank operations, maintenance, safety and security, strategic planning and communications, supporting services, transportation, information technology, the volunteer rescue squads, the sheriff's office, and maybe the Maryland State Police, staff members at each high school, and photographers. It was a joyous time filled with excitement and jubilation, and I want to express my greatest wishes to all of the graduates and the many wonderful things that they will do. Thank you.
Dr. Smith?
Absolutely. Well, you've stolen all of my thunder. Yeah, we had, I mean, they were great. They were great. They were hot. They were hot, everybody. There was a couple of moments where music was playing. We'd look up into the stands to the thousands of people, and they'd be fanning themselves in rhythm to the music. It was really, it was something. Well over 1,100 kids walked across the stage. The data on the streaming, so something like 11,000 people either visited our page and downloaded the program, or stayed and actually watched the entire video or the entire series. We had 241 people from outside of the United States access the stream because, of course, obviously we are a community that serves, and so how wonderful for them to be wherever they may be deployed across the globe. They were able to take part. We had about 702 people watching at any particular time, and since we've posted, and these are older numbers, as of today, this morning, 4,339 views so far of everything. So a lot of people all getting together to celebrate our kids and their wonderful accomplishments and the work of all of our staff to get our children through that milestone. They are all there. Please take the time and watch them. You can fast forward till your graduate or child until they walk across the stage. It was very well done. And the office under Dr. Marr's guidance, they were really great. Kids running the cameras and support staff, they just did a great job. Everybody was there for a daytime commencement. Staff has been planning for months and months and months and months and months. But the day of 5 a.m., as the sun is breaking over the horizon, we had staff there setting things up, testing things, making sure that everything worked. And cycling back to last evening, where we were recognizing people for length of service, Junior Armstrong has reached the milestone of 40 years, and he's not done yet. He's coming back for next year, thankfully. But every single time I went to any one of the spaces, there was Mr. Armstrong moving about, working with others, coordinating, making sure that every little need was met. Just did a beautiful job. A lot of hands in that work. And we have our safety and security people who we are recognizing today, as well as the Sheriff's Office and State Trooper. They were responsible for bringing in thousands and thousands of people in their cars, and most importantly, getting thousands and thousands of people out in their cars, all pretty much without major incident. So just a great job. It is truly the highlight of our year, and I think that this, in particular, all the effort that went into it, we're definitely rewarded by the smiles of our kids as they walked across the stage. Gateway to Independence, the transition celebration, that was yesterday. That was lovely. Last night we had the recognition, the length of service, and you'll see that there's Mr. Armstrong getting 40 years, 30 for Miss Ensminger, and she's retiring, unfortunately. But fortunately for her, but she's been absolutely wonderful. And there's Principal Gilman, who is retiring after 35 years, but even more impressive, over 21 years as the principal at Hollywood Elementary School. So we are saying farewell to people who have spent their professional lives in the service of children and others, and they're just absolutely wonderful. That being said, obviously they're leaving. So we got lots of opportunity for people. So you might be thinking, oh, it's only for teachers. No. We need building service workers, bus drivers, attendants, counselors, fiscal services, accountants, food service workers, maintenance workers, paraeducators, nurses, safety assistants, school psychologists, social workers, secretaries and support staff, and as well as all of the teachers. But we definitely have opportunity available. In fact, as of right now, we are an hour into a virtual recruitment for special ed teachers. I think we had 10 people signed up, and we're hopeful that we might be able to offer 10 contracts by the end of the day today. So if you haven't thought about working for us and with us, please give it a thought. We are so very close. We have 2 days left this week. Last day for Head Start and Pre-K is on Friday. Then next week, the last week, we have 2 days for students, full day, the 13th and the 14th. The 15th is a half day, last day for students. The 16th is a full day for staff without children to get all their grades and everything done. The 17th is the last day for teachers because, again, you had so graciously given them the Juneteenth in recognition of the Juneteenth holiday. Everybody in the school system has off that Monday. So we are really, really close to concluding a very eventful and busy school year. But you're in the gathering of wonderful people who work every single day on behalf of kids, and that's why we have come so far. So with that, that's all I have for today. Just thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. First item on our agenda are recognitions. We have the Citizens Advisory Committee for Special Education, also known as CASE, the Rise Up Award, Mr. Scott Serbiak.
Good afternoon, board members.
Good afternoon.
And as always, I take this opportunity to thank you all for the support that you give, Dr. Smith, Dr. Montgomery, and the teachers for the continued work that they're doing for our students for them to be successful. So thank you. Students with special needs encounter various St. Mary's County Public Schools staff every day. Not all the staff members are specific to special education department. However, many of them can make a lasting positive impact on our students, and we are truly grateful for that. Since 2014, the Citizens Advisory Committee for Special Education has given the Rise Up Award to recognize any staff member who has demonstrated going above and beyond to provide an education to an individual with special needs. CASE is a parent-led group that offers parents and caregivers the opportunity to become more knowledgeable in state, local, and local resources, as well as just starting the journey in those that honor and support similar goals. This committee collaborates with the Special Education Department to improve the education of all children with special needs. The Rise Up Awards are unique because those awards are given to and recommended by families and sometimes students. The community selected the following staff members for their professionalism, dedication, compassion, and positive attitude toward our special education population this year. Unfortunately, some could not be here because they're having field day. I mean, who wants to leave field day?
Most of us field day, yeah.
But from Chesapeake Public Charter School, who were unable to attend, were recognized by the Lucas family, the Norris family, the Wesley family, and the Anderson family, and they said the following. These staff members should be recognized for their work with students with disabilities. They strive and go above and beyond their responsibilities to assist with students in schools. This team has never given up during setbacks while maintaining focus with a can-do attitude. Families are always invited and heard at IEP meetings and positively and collaboratively involved in the decision-making process. This team should be recommended and commented on their work, which is why we recommend them for the Rise Up Award. Those are as follows. Ms. Joyce Carey, IEP Chair. Ms. Caroline Brunger, School Psychologist. Ms. Brittany Lungergren, First Grade Teacher. Ms. Janine Ellis, Special Education Teacher. Ms. Lauren Johnson, Paraeducator. Ms. Jill Matthew, Occupational Therapist. And Ms. Diana Litwinski-Gaskin, School Counselor. So I just want to congratulate those from Chesapeake Public Charter Schools for that Rise Up Award. From Captain Walter Francis Duke, recognized by the Fernan family. My son has been attending this school since kindergarten. Every teacher is incredible, but I cannot deny all the improvements my son has been making during the past few years after starting the Compass program at Duke. Mrs. Sater is all kinds of special. She is patient, caring, loving, smart, knowledgeable, sweet, and much more. Because of Miss Sater, I send my kids to school every day with a light heart and zero worries. She's always willing to go above and beyond to help the kids in her class, and she loves them all the same. I wish we could keep her for life. So I believe Miss Sater was coming in today. Is she not here today? Well, I would like to still recognize her and give her a round. And from Chopticon High School, recognized by the Perota family. We can't just pick one because this entire group is deserving of a recognition. After all, it takes teamwork to be successful. It is incredible what a great team can do for students. This team generally cares and works above and beyond ensuring students are successful. My child loves going to school, which reflects the team supplying a healthy environment for students. Every day it gives us peace of mind knowing his team has joined with us to help him succeed. And I know I have some Chopticon people here with me. So we have Mr. Matthew Rodriguez, IEP Chair, Mr. Zachary Sparshot, Special Education Teacher, if he'd come on up and come and get his recognition. And I would ask that you stay here for a picture. Come on up. Congratulations. Mr. Rodriguez. I'll get you in just a minute. Miss Michelle Soltage, school nurse. Miss Wendy Stabnow, nurse. Miss Adriana Rodriguez, math teacher. Come on up.
Rodriguez.
Miss Lisa Haycraft, science teacher. Mr. James McGrath, social studies teacher. Come on up. Mr. Dylan Burrows, physical education teacher. And Miss Annie Vallingham, PE teacher. Come on up and please recognize this wonderful. Dylan and Mr. Dr. Smith, if you would come up and take a picture with us, please.
Dr. Martin, you're going to be the official photographer. All right, we're going to have to kind of angle in, bunch up like grapes. Come on. Congratulations. Well done. Well done.
And again, I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you, Scott.
The next item on our agenda is from the Department of Safety and Security, recognition by Mr. Mike Wyant.
Good afternoon, board members.
Good afternoon, sir.
This is our annual Safety and Security Recognition Ceremony. We are committed to proudly continue with the tradition of recognizing our law enforcement partnerships and school security staff. We've gathered annually each year at the end of the school year to honor and recognize our local law enforcement agencies and the officers and school security staff who have dedicated themselves to protecting our community and especially our student staff in schools. We owe them all our gratitude and appreciation for helping to keep our schools safe and secure. The recognition today is just a small way to let them know that we cannot do what we do for the children in this community without their commitment and dedication. I'm going to start with our Safety and Security Assistants of the Year nominees, and I would ask each nominee to please come forward as I read their nomination. So first off, Ms. Lakika Gray. Ms. Gray was nominated by Principal Wendy Zimmerman. Just an excerpt from the nomination. I'm proud to offer this letter on behalf of Ms. Lakika Gray of the Safety and Security Team in recognition of her dedication to the safety and security of Spring Ridge Middle School community. Collaboration with staff and commitment to all the facets of the well-being of our students is a hallmark. Ms. Gray is an exemplary member of the school community. She models a restorative approach that is a hallmark of Spring Ridge Middle School by seeking to work with students to understand root causes of behaviors and implement proactive measures to support students in making positive choices, all while holding students accountable for their actions. Apart from her title, Ms. Gray also serves as a mentor, counselor, and advocate, consistently working in the best interest of students and the school community. I am inspired by the way she builds connections with students, particularly those who can be the most challenging to reach. Students open up to Ms. Gray and respond well to her. She creates a safe space for students, some of whom need school as their singular source of structure and nurturing. Serving a community of over 1,000 students is inherently a busy role, and one that Ms. Gray takes in stride with a sense of calm and unwavering professionalism. Ms. Gray is agreeable to countless requests supporting the operations of the school in a myriad of ways without complaint or hesitation. She is a solid teammate and leads collaboratively with efforts to utilize staff with maximum effectiveness. So Lakika, congratulations. I'm going to give you your certificate as a nominee. All right. Stay right there. Our second nominee is Ms. Pamela Curtis from Letty Marshall Dent Elementary School. Come on down. Ms. Curtis was nominated by Ms. Battenfield and the front office staff. The front office staff would like to join the staff of Letty Marshall Dent in recommending our safety assistant, Ms. Pam Curtis, for recognition. Beyond being a dependable and amazing team member, Ms. Curtis is an excellent ambassador to our school community. Ms. Curtis makes security and safety her top priority, of course, but never at the expense of being a welcoming presence for the students, parents, and visitors at Dent Elementary School. She not only conducts her regular security checks, but also signs students in and out and walks students to class when they arrive. Ms. Curtis also handles the important but tedious task that keeps our school running. She delivers all the things that elementary school kids inevitably forget at home, like lunch boxes, glasses, homework, class projects, musical instruments, etc. Ms. Curtis does all this despite a less than ideal office setting until our construction begins. She has been working from a student desk in our front hall. For all the reasons and many more, we want to recognize Ms. Curtis in appreciation for her contributions to Dent Elementary School. So. And then Safety Assistant Ms. Barbara Holt could not be with us today. Nomination was submitted by Dr. Deb Denny. A major part of the duties and responsibilities of Safety and Security Assistant is centered around mentoring the school and campus in an effort to maintain a safe learning environment for all. There is no doubt that Ms. Barbara Holt does an impeccable job fulfilling her duties when asked to describe how Ms. Holt has made a significant impact at Leonardtown Middle School during the past school year. The faculty, staff, and students at Leonardtown Middle School said the following. Ms. Holt is an exceptional safety and security attendant who, with a positive rapport with students, who helps to shape the respectful culture of Leonardtown Middle School. Ms. Holt is a delightful colleague who goes way above and beyond to ensure the safety of our students, staff, and always in a calm and collective manner. So just a round of applause for Ms. Barbara Holt. Let's see. Mr. Melvin Young, Great Mills High School. This is nomination from Dr. Jhcg. Safety team member Melvin Young. Mr. Young is a constant positive force within the building. Through his daily interactions with students, Mr. Young is proactive in terms of problem-solving situations before they become bigger than they are with our students. Mr. Young has established meaningful relationships with students that are based on mutual respect and understanding. Mr. Young is someone that students turn to for help and assistance each and every day. So Melvin, thank you. And with that, our safety and security assistant, make sure, oh, yes, of the year goes to two recipients. So it's going to be Lakika and Pam. So congratulations. Dr. Smith, do you want to get photos as we go? Photos as we go or at the end?
At the end, we'll do a whole picture at the end with everybody.
So you guys can have a seat. We're going to start with one. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to call up Captain Steve Hall and Sergeant Rob Merritt. Steve, I don't know if you want, am I going out of order?
No, you're
Okay,
great.
want to make sure. All right. So Steve, do you want to say a few remarks on behalf of the Sheriff's Office? So go ahead.
Putting on the spot.
But if you use the microphone, then we'll not only hear you here, but we'll make sure that the people at home hear you
Becomes
as
part
well.
of the digital record forever and forever.
Miss Allen, for keeping me straight. First of all, I think somebody asked me a question the other day. What's the one thing that you use to attract deputies and correctional officers and professional staff to the sheriff's office? Because recruiting is the topic. I think we covered that earlier today with the school board. It's real easy for me. You all from St. Mary's County. What we have and the relationship that we have with the Board of Education and the Sheriff's Office is, in my opinion, the best in the state. I think we've proved that time and time again. And I think that the time that you all are taking to recognize the school safety staff and our very, very fine SROs is really, really phenomenal. I will just leave it at this. The SROs, in my opinion, the biggest honor for a police officer is for somebody to follow in your footsteps in this profession. It's a difficult one, but it's an honorable one. There is no doubt in my mind that our SROs are affecting young people, and they want to model that behavior and follow them into the field of law enforcement. The biggest privilege is for somebody that's frightened, victimized, confused, to trust you and reach out to you when they're at their very, very most vulnerable. Our SROs are there. They don't judge their successes by what they do or the successes they have. They measure their success based on the good they can do for others. So I thank you all for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain. And with that, we have 2 nominees for School Resource Officer of the Year. The first one is Corporal Sean Carberry, nominated by Dr. Deb Denny. So come on. Although this school year has been like no other when it comes to discipline, it would have been way worse if we didn't have Corporal Sean Carberry at Leonardtown Middle School. Not only is he the school's resource officer, he is a teacher, an advisor, and a friend to students at Leonardtown Middle School. He is a colleague and a friend to the staff members. We are very fortunate to have Corporal Carberry at Leonardtown Middle School. Following are some testimonials from staff and students regarding Corporal Carberry. Corporal Carberry does an outstanding job building positive relationships with students. The kids enjoy talking with him and they trust him. I am grateful that he is part of our school staff. Corporal Carberry is an exceptional school resource officer who always puts the safety of students and staff first, but also contributes to our education community by building rapport with students and leading students in their lessons. Corporal Carberry is very understanding and kind. When a situation is really tough, he is cool and does not embarrass you. That's from a student. Corporal Carberry is great at his job. He is funny, great to be around, and he is serious when it is necessary. But in general, good at his job. Another student. Corporal Carberry helped a lot. He has a great mind and a personality. I go to him almost every day. When I do, he is always there to talk. He is very helpful with many things. I'm glad I have him to talk when I need to. Another student. So, Corporal Carberry, congratulations on your nominations. And then our second nominee is Corporal Gerard Machete. Gerard, come on down. Nominated by Dr. Jhcg at Great Mills High School. Corporal Machete is nominated for his continuous commitment and dedication to the students and staff at Great Mills High School. Corporal Machete works hard, very hard, to make positive and meaningful connections with our students, going out of his way to meet and greet students each day. He is present and active within our school community, both during the school day and afterward, through his efforts in coaching football for the school. Students both respect and admire Corporal Machete for all that he does each day for Great Mills High School. So Gerard, congratulations. And our School Resource Officer of the Year this year is Corporal Gerard Machete. So thank you. Okay, and hang around for a photo afterwards? You got time? Please. Okay, be just a minute. Yeah. Next, we're going to nominate and actually recognize our team lead of the year. So Ms. Andrea Young. Did Andrea make it? There you are, Andrea. Only one nomination, but well-deserved. You're a team lead.
I can do it.
Ms. Young is a driving force in the department who is always willing to support our schools and students. Ms. Young continues to demonstrate her skills as both a team lead and mentor. She can always be counted on to address crisis, small or large. This year, Ms. Young volunteered as one of our team leads to receive orientation training with the Travis Mannion Foundation as we look forward to further developing formal mentoring programs for our students, as well as student-based disciplinary hearings embracing restorative justice practices. Ms. Young continues to demonstrate a high level of job knowledge, leadership, and abilities, and the ability to perform in multitask in a very challenging work environment. So, Andrea, congratulations on being our team lead for the year. And then last but not least, the Maryland State Police cannot be with us today, but we have Trooper of the Year, Trooper John Engelman, and I'll just read the nomination if that's appropriate.
Please.
Trooper Engelman has quickly excelled in all areas of police work. In 2020, he was recognized as the Leonardtown Barrack Rookie of the Year. Trooper Engelman takes great pride in being a Maryland State Trooper, which clearly shows in his daily appearance and organizational skills. He is self-motivated and goal-oriented. He seeks training opportunities and collateral duties to make himself a better police officer and to better serve his community. Trooper Engelman motivates everyone that has the pleasure of working with him. Positively impacting the community is extremely important to Trooper Engelman. He is one of the first to volunteer for community events and has always positive interactions with citizens of St. Mary's County. Trooper Engelman is not only a model state trooper, but a role model for aspiring future Maryland State troopers and law enforcement officers. So, congratulations to Trooper Engelman. So. And with that, Dr. Smith.
Sure, we're going to have everybody come back up. We'll kind of organize you for one photo. All the placards, all the stuff.
Do you have room to bring everybody in there, or would you like us to vacate so you can do the picture across here?
You guys hold it.
Let's do the picture across. I think, yeah, let's, if we could, let's go in front of the Board of Education.
This way,
Yeah.
so that. Your background.
Okay, scoot down some, guys, so you're centered. Scoot down so you're centered. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. You got it. Okay.
Now tighten up.
All right.
There you go.
Dr. Smith, perhaps you might get on one side and Captain Hall on the other and get one more picture.
That sounds like a good deal. And then I have just a couple of things to say about you all. All right. Fantastic. All right. Hey, wait. Given the world outside of St. Mary's County, it's a scary, scary place. Here in St. Mary's County, we feel confident every single day that we are doing all we can to keep our kids safe and create environments where they can flourish, where they can learn, where they can grow. And it's because of each one of you and the job you do every single day to make safety the first priority in our schools, and do so in a compassionate way. We are so lucky to have each one of you. Just thank you very much. And we take no offense if you need to, sidle off into other things. Now, if you want to stay for what promises to be a very enlightening meeting, you're more than welcome to do so.
We figure we have about 2 hours or
We got
plus.
2.5 hours worth of really interesting stuff.
And the next recognition is that of the Patuxent Partnership by Dr. Jeff Marr.
Well, thank you very much. In St. Mary's County, we are so fortunate to have the incredible support of the Patuxent Partnership. For the last 15 years, the Patuxent Partnership has provided funding for STEM activities, including our summer STEM camp experiences, once called Space Camp, this year called Thinkers Space, Through this summer enrichment camp, as well as other experiences, students in grades 2 through 8 have opportunities to participate in hands-on, minds-on activities in the areas of science, mathematics, technology, and engineering. Last summer, we expanded our camp opportunities to also include Environmental Explorers Camp at the Elms Environmental Center, and that program continues again this year. So far, 75 students are registered for these 2 camps that are held in July, and there's still space available for those who still want to register. These programs are possible with the support of the Patuxent Partnership. So as I said, over the last 15 years, this partnership has helped support these programs, and over 2,000 students have been enrolled in these programs. And the Patuxent Partnership has donated over $250,000 in support over these years. This year, they're providing an additional level of support of $20,000 for the camps and STEM activities as well. These funds help to defray the costs for our students and their families who pay to attend the camp, and the funds help pay for ongoing costs of new technologies and materials for the camp, as well as subsidies to help our students who are receiving free and reduced meals to attend for free. In addition, the Patuxent Partnership funding supports transportation this year for a hub bus from the southern end of the county to transport students to the Thinkerspace camp. Further, this year's donation is helping to fund STEM for All instructional materials for our fall STEAM Expo, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So this afternoon, we want to take this opportunity to thank the Patuxent Partnership for their generosity and ongoing partnership. And I'd like to invite to the podium to receive this recognition the president of their board of directors, Mr. Ray Warnicki, and their executive director, Ms. Bonnie Green. As Dr. Smith, if you would also join us.
Absolutely. Somebody has to step before the microphone and make comments. So.
I'll do that with pleasure. Dr. Marr, Dr. Smith, what a privilege it is for Bonnie and I to be here to represent our board. Our mission is to connect industry, government, and academia around technology, but really to advance STEM. And what an honor it is. Wow, I wasn't aware of the giving over the last 2 decades, Jeff, but wow, what a contribution the organization has made. And Dr. Smith, to kind of further your commitment to STEM in our school system. We also care about workforce development, and it starts with little people, right? And where's Kelly? I have 2 kids who are graduates of St. Mary's County Public Schools. They live and work here. And we care about, as an employer, providing opportunities for our young people to get exposed to STEM at a very young age so that they can support whatever requirements are local in the future. So thrilled to be here. It's an annual privilege. Thank you for the invite, and we continue to look forward to the partnership in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I get a shot. A quick picture?
Yeah.
All right. Is she popping out?
One more photo.
And we won't be staying.
I totally understand. It can be, though.
I might hang out.
Yeah, you certainly. If not, you watch this later. Fantastic. Let's go again.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand this to Ms. McCourt. Never a good idea to hand me a $20,000 check.
Next on the agenda would be a public hearing. We do not, however, have anything for a public hearing today. After that, we have public comment. I understand we do have some public comment today, and so as Mr. Glasper, our secretary, reads the names, you'll make your way to the podium over here. I have a statement I need to read, and after that, we will get started. The board welcomes public input on policies and issues affecting our schools. We take this time to listen and consider, but not to comment. This is not, however, the appropriate forum for negative comments or criticisms of individual staff or of students. concerns about those that cannot be resolved at the level closest to the situation should be directed to the superintendent. And we won't permit comments criticizing students or staff because this is outside the scope of our public comment. We sit as an appellate body in both student and employee appeals, so we can't comment on or have prior knowledge of a case that would affect our ability to deliberate. So those issues cannot be brought up at public comment either. We ask that you sign in at the beginning of the meeting. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and speakers may not yield their time to someone else. We encourage speakers to present written statements to Mr. Glasper, and he will then make sure that those are distributed to all board members. I will ask that Mr. Glasper will start a timer when you begin to speak, and you'll hear it go off if you've not concluded your remarks. And at that point, I would ask that you could just summarize in a sentence or two so that we can be respectful for everyone who is here to speak today. And with that, Mr. Glasper.
Randy Turnbull.
And I do apologize if I slur my speech a little bit. I had oral surgery here about a week and a half ago, so just bear with me. I am here to speak on behalf of the new bill that just got passed with the pre-K program going from a half-day program to a full-day program. Currently, my 4-year-old is a student at Ridge Elementary in Miss Sedania's class. He is doing absolutely amazing things. We signed a contract because he was under the early admittance program that he would be going back to school there in the pre-K program next year. 2 weeks ago, this new bill passed. And now because of income eligibility, he is now not going to be allowed to go back to school next year. So I have a 4-year-old's heart that I have to break. Either that or I have to push him beyond where he is developmentally, regardless of where he is academically. My son is brilliant. He does multiplication on the fly. He can count to 60 by himself. Because of COVID, we missed out on key times, key opportunities for him to hit those developmental milestones when it came to being socialized. I grew up in abject poverty. I did not have sewage, running water, or electricity until I was 13. I can appreciate what the state is trying to do with this new bill. However, I am going to stand here and tell you that that help does not stop where that poverty line ends. We are less than $10,000 over the max income cap. When you look at our tax return from last year, my husband's income as an active duty member, E5, family of 4, we were sitting at $43,000. I am a service-connected combat veteran. I receive a VA disability check. Because of the fact that that is for my pain and suffering and to cover VA bills and doctor's appointments that the VA cannot cover, my over-the-counter meds, more than half of my VA check goes into my bills. Does not begin to take care of my family, does not begin to even scratch the surface of the gas money being at $5 a gallon. It does not cover food. It does not cover half of the things that we need as a family. But what you guys have got to see, and I would hope and pray that you guys can advocate for us, since obviously getting up to DC or wherever the state school board is not always an option, that you guys should please try to push that line just a little bit further. Because right now, I would be doing better for my family, making less money, sitting, just absolutely not even caring, so my son could go to school, than fighting to leave the environment that I grew up in. Because right now, my option is send my son to school or do better for myself. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Turnbull.
James Turnbull.
Hi, Board. So, along the same lines, just a little bit more by the metrics. Our last duty station, we were just above the poverty line. We were on food stamps. Coming out here, took a 20 grand pay cut. We still come in just over the line for next year's legislation of where the income cutoff is. My wife's on VA disability checks. I'm salaried. We're effectively fixed income. I can be called in at whatever time of day, whatever day of the week. I can't go anywhere to amend my income to get anything else. And despite having signed a contract with the school district, and I understand things happen at state legislation level, which is above control. But to feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath us and to have to go and tell our 4-year-old that he's already accepted that he wouldn't be moving on to kindergarten with his classmates because he was supposed to do pre-K again. He didn't start until the end of February this year because he was in early enrollment. But now, on top of that, we have to tell him that he may not be able to go to school at all next year with the new rules. I don't know if I have the heart to tell him. But here in about an hour and 15 minutes, he's getting off the bus. And he gets to get back on it 2 more times maybe. And then he has to sit at home for a year. The closest affordable private school, which is our only other option, is $10,000 a year for tuition. I don't know what I can do about that. Gross annually, our housing is 27% of our income. Power, phone, insurance, car payments, another 16%. Groceries, conservatively, 9%. Gas, 7%. That puts us at 59%. Let's round up, call that 60. That's 40% of our annual income left over after those expenses. That doesn't include medical coverage, paying co-pays. I've got 2 little boys. They go to the ER sometimes. They bump their heads. They go down some stairs. They scrape their knees. They fall down. Veterinary bills. She has a service animal. He has to be cared for. Data connectivity, home repairs, vehicle repairs, or any debt payment. Doesn't cover that. Private schooling would be equal to 12% of our annual income as a family, 24% of our taxable income. Without help, I don't know what I'm going to do to keep my kid in school, especially when they're talking about busing kids from outside of the area into the school he's at now. How do I tell him that his spot got taken? Thank you.
Andrew Murray.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to have the opportunity to speak here today and deliver one of my most important lessons as a teacher. I came here today in order to provide this lesson to our students of the LGBTQIA+ community in response to a most unfortunate message that was delivered in this very room at the previous meeting. As a proud non-binary gay teacher of SMCPS, I saw that message of discrimination and hate as an opportunity to teach a lesson. Love has the power to transmute negativity into a demonstration of perseverance through positive actions. This is a moment of cleansing. To our students, I won't sugarcoat it. You will hear messages like the one shared that villainize the kind of love you feel. In these moments, it's important to remember that they come from a place of fear and misunderstanding. Fear that stems from misinformation fueled by historical inaccuracies and mistranslations. In a world so full of negativity and division, love in all of its forms is not something that humanity should shy away from. These moments are puzzling, aren't they? How do we explain that the love we feel is the same as others when we are also just as human? What I want you to keep in mind when faced with these adversities is that you are divine and your love is no different than that of your counterparts. Love is indeed love, simple yet complex, beautiful and also powerful. Love provides us with the strength to stand in these moments of adversity and rise above. The month of June is Pride Month to honor the Stonewall riots, which were in the inception event of the LGBTQIA+ plus movement towards equality. An event when we came out of our closets and stood in our power. It is a time designated to indeed be proud of what we have overcome. In these moments, remind yourself that it is better to be where you are standing in love than where they are standing in hate. No one can take that away from you. Not only is love powerful, but it is your power, it is our power. I offer these words from the great LGBTQIA+ activist Harvey Milk. It takes no compromise to give people their rights. It takes no money to respect the individual. It takes no survey to remove oppressions. All men are created equal. No matter how hard they try, they can never erase those words. This is what America is about. Freedom is too enormous to be slipped under a closet door. Hope will never be silent. Happy Pride Month. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you.
Cece Lukesh.
Hello. I have two boys attending Esperanza Middle School. It has been one of my primary goals as a mother to expose my boys to as many different people and viewpoints as I can. This is done in the hopes that my boys will move forth into adulthood with empathy, inclusivity, and the ability to engage their surroundings with respect and tolerance of other viewpoints. Principles which our country was founded on. We live in a world where each of us are becoming increasingly interconnected. With social media and the many ways we stay informed, we need to depend on the influence and guidance of other community members, especially our educators, and the important work they do. Further, another of my priorities with my boys is to help them develop the skills necessary to navigate a world where everyone is different, and even when we don't understand or like someone, every one of us is worthy of dignity and respect. I want my sons to grow into men who not only understand this, but live it wholeheartedly. As our children grow, and in order for their education to remain valuable, we must teach and model through a lens of diversity, compassion, inclusivity, and equity. When any of these facets crumbles, so does the value of our children's education. We do not live in a bubble. Our children will be required to integrate and tolerate the viewpoints of others. Because of this, it is imperative that our educators be granted the support and freedom to embrace their own individuality and diversity to more authentically provide a rich educational experience to our children. When we fail to support our educators, when we leave them unprotected, when we engage in a practice of dehumanization because of a difference of beliefs, it impacts every aspect of education. I ask you as a community member, fellow educator, and parent to pause and consider the increasing demand for educators and substitutes in our schools. Given this need, please know ostracizing those who remain dedicated to this profession is not beneficial to our community or the futures of our children. I ask that you stand with me in tolerance and acceptance of all our community members. Thank you. Happy Pride Month. Happy Juneteenth.
Paul Quaid.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Quaid. I was born and raised in St. Mary's County on a tobacco farm, actually. I'm a proud graduate and a prouder teacher of our public school system. I'm also a proud and out queer person. As a child, I was bombarded with constant reminders that I was different, starting from elementary school. Why do you talk, walk, or act like a girl? Are you gay? I was called faggot, among other things, physically threatened and told to commit suicide by peers in this county. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Every ignorant question, hateful slur, threat, and inaction of adults broke my spirit, degraded my self-worth, and eventually led me to consider suicide and attempt in high school. But it got better. I'm now happily married to my partner of over 13 years, 14 in September. I have a loving family that supports me, and I've found my chosen family and allies and other queer members in our community. In fact, I was able to accept the Pride Month proclamation for our county yesterday at the commissioners' meeting. It's proof that our community is growing more inclusive, but there is still work to be done. It gets better if we make it better. I'm also the president of PFLAG Leonardtown, a local nonprofit organization made of LGBTQ plus individuals, our parents, family members, friends, allies, and students across Southern Maryland. PFLAG works tirelessly to create an equitable and inclusive community through support, education, and advocacy. In the past year, we've provided support at over 20 peer-to-peer meetings and social events. We have educated the broader community in our presence at local events and festivals, in our collaborations with local educational, mental health, and nonprofit organizations, and we even provided an inclusive classroom training for educators. And today I'm here to advocate on behalf of our LGBTQ plus students and our amazing allied educators. Our youth deserve a safe and affirming learning environment, and our staff deserve the appropriate tools and support to create that environment for all. And I can tell you right now, we do not have it. Teachers are begging us to come to their schools to help them. But we will not allow our families to be erased and our youth forced back into closets due to the oppressive words and actions of others or the inaction and compliance of our school leadership. On behalf of PFLAG Leonardtown, I'd like to call on everyone to sign an open letter to the public school system, the Board of Ed, requesting a formal commitment to LGBTQ plus students and families across our county. So if you'd like to visit PFLAG, PFLAG, Leonardtown.org, or at PFLAG Leonardtown on social media, you can find the link, add your name. And lastly, I ask for all of the LGBTQ plus students, parents, teachers, and our amazing allies to join me and PFLAG at the next Board of Education meeting, June 22nd at 6, to present that open letter to the board. So thank you to the board for your commitment to LGBTQ plus students, see, even I'm tripping up over it, and families in St. Mary's County. Thank you.
Sarah Gravel.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time and this opportunity to speak. I'm the proud parent of 5 amazing kids, 3 of which are currently enrolled in SMCPS, 1 that already graduated, 1 to soon be enrolled in the next year or so. I want to thank all the dedicated teachers, staffs, and administrators throughout SMCPS for their hard work and commitment to our children. Specifically, I want to thank all those SMCPS staff who strive to have LGBTQ representation within our schools, and I want to speak to the importance of that representation. At a recent board meeting, we heard some comments regarding LGBTQ representation in our schools, but sadly, it was referred to as propaganda instead of representation. Representation and propaganda are not the same thing, and it is harmful to conflate the two. I'm so thankful that there is representation from LGBTQ plus communities, as well as other minority and marginalized communities in our school. Representation from a variety of populations and communities is the very essence of education. It deepens students' understanding of the human experience and expands their capacity for compassion and critical thinking. In that same meeting, this parent also described LGBTQ representation as somehow sexualizing children. And there's nothing sexual about a rainbow with the word pride displayed on it, or rainbow apparel. It seems that this word choice was meant to provide shock value and bring division to our community. And there's nothing sexual in nature about rainbows, equality, LGBTQ representation, unless someone decides to make it so. And that seems like a personal problem. LGBTQ representation is essential in our schools. Queer children and families exist regardless of whether or not we put up a rainbow. But putting up a rainbow, including a book that references LGBTQ families or individuals, might help someone feel seen and included, or even save a life. As we just heard from the previous speaker, from their own personal experience, and also this data speaks for itself. The latest research from the Trevor Project says that last year, 42% of LGBTQ plus youth seriously considered attempting suicide. But those same youth, if they had access to spaces where they felt valued or included, there were much lower rates of attempted suicide and serious mental health issues. We have an obligation to protect and provide safe spaces for all of our students, including LGBTQ plus students. One of my favorite quotes is from the late Maya Angelou: do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. We know that representation matters. And while I'm so thankful for the progress that has been made, we know that we can still do better. The data speaks for itself, and it is essential that we have safe spaces and that we have resources for teachers to make sure there's adequate representation of our LGBTQ populations in schools. I have personally seen the negative effects of homophobic slurs and bullying in our schools and communities, and we can do a better job to provide a safe space for everyone. I call on everyone who wants our schools and communities to continue to provide these safe spaces to contact your administrators, the Board of Education, and participate in the open letter with PFLAG. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Please
Our
make
next,
sure you, thank you, Ms. Gravel.
next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda, approval of minutes of May 25th, 2022, personnel teachers, personnel administrative and supervisory, Department of Food and Nutrition Services, cafeteria point of sales hardware and software maintenance agreement, High Roads in-district services.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Action items, educational programs for pregnant and parenting students, policy Jhcg, second reading. Ms. Long.
Yes. Good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon. I am here today to present the second reading of the Pregnant and Parenting Students Policy, Jhcg. As discussed during the first reading work session at the Board of Ed meeting on May 11th, 2022, these policy changes are in response to the education articles and the Maryland State Department of Education Maryland Model Policy. All of the proposed changes are reflected in the Maryland Model Policy as well. The proposed policy, as you will see it today, will be presented as it was during the first reading on May 11, 2022, and following the Board of Education meeting on May 25th, 2022, where it was on the agenda for public hearing, and there were no public hearing comments received. So the title of the policy is proposed to be changed to Pregnant and Parenting Students. And the purpose of the policy, as it states here and was previously read, there were no further changes. And the changes you see are changes that were incorporated from the Maryland Model Policy. And as well with the policy statement, the changes reflect the words from the Maryland Model Policy. And we have a continuation there. And again, no further changes were made since the presentation from the first reading. And then on the policy definitions, the only change, again, no changes from the first reading, but the changes to the second definition for parenting student, where a parenting student is a student who is either the mother, father, or legal guardian of the child. And then the current policy, section 4, the expectations for evaluation, review, and updates, there are no changes there. And the recommended action is that the Board of Education approve policy Jhcg as presented.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Davis?
No questions, thank you.
Nothing. No questions or comments, thank you.
I will just acknowledge that when the Maryland State Department of Education shares a model policy, it is the expectation that we will follow that model policy closely, and certainly if there were any questions, we are held accountable to that model policy. And so with that, I will ask, is there a motion to approve policy Jhcg as presented?
I move that the Board of Education approve policy Jhcg revisions as presented.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All, motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, the high school program of studies, proposed revisions, 2022-2023, second reading, Ms. Bachner and Dr. Jaffers.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It feels very strange presenting at this time of the day, unless we had a really long morning meeting.
Yes, that'll be a very long morning.
And I apologize for the change, but it was a successful meeting this morning that I was required to attend.
Very good. Well, we're glad to be here for the second reading. As you know, we typically don't do a second reading, although we have a couple years. And the reason we're coming to you is just for needs to make sure that the program of studies is up to date as is needed for those students entering high school next year and in the programs that we support. So as process, is concurrent with the policy, we came before you on May 11th with the first reading. We had public comment on May 25th, and on June 8th, we had a second reading. At the May 25th, there was no public comment, but since that time, Emergency Services did provide provide to you a public comment in written form via email. And it was a very positive and supportive suggestion that we approve, or recommending that the board approve those changes. I also want to let everyone know, since that time, I also visited with Emergency Services myself and met with them, as well as MIFRI, as well as the counselors at the high school and Mr. Egan at the tech center. So, and all that pertains to this new course for CTE. The rationale, MSDE is requiring that by school year 24, we move our emergency services pathway to a 2-year program. Currently, we have a 1-year program that's 5 credits. So this means that year 1 would be the EMT portion for 2 credits, and year 2 would be the firefighter 1, hazmat operations, site operations, and vehicle and machinery extraction for 3 credits this second year. And to accommodate this, next year we would offer both of those programs. For any senior needing the pathway or an elective, they would be able to take both EMT and the fire grouping next year. Any juniors entering the program would start with the EMT as year 1, and then next year, of course, they would have the fire grouping as their year 2. The emergency services were very excited about the second bullet, and they wanted to definitely have their support of that if the pathway doesn't fill the class seats, and we determined that the filling would be 16 seats, would be full, which we haven't made it to 16 seats for many years. It'll be great when we do. But either course, the EMT or the fire grouping, can be taken as an elective course for students not needing the pathway. The other change that we came to you was the AVPA change, to change the requirement of the completion of the 1-credit AVP capstone course per credit to an elective option. In the meantime, I think a communication update came to the Board of Education, sharing documentation that shows the difference between the capstone program course for credit and then the capstone requirement project that is due regardless of taking the course for any student who wants the AVPA capstone. So the recommended action is that you approve the proposed changes to the high school program of studies as presented, unless there are some questions that I need to answer.
The only question I have is, like the changes, course changes, are they strictly elective? You don't need to fund additional funding for these?
No, actually, every single course here has already been part of our program of studies. It's just changing them a little bit to when they're offered, and if they're for credit or not.
Gotcha. That's all I have. Thank you.
No questions, thank you.
As I've said before, I'm really pleased by the changes to the fire and rescue program. I think that we will have many more students who are successful in that program. That EMT portion is incredibly challenging, even for adults, and completing the 2-year program really leads to some wonderful opportunities for kids coming right out of high school to go into the workforce and be extremely successful. I know of one in particular who, has been out for more than 10 years and, has a house and is doing incredibly well, and a very productive member of this community, not just as a volunteer firefighter, but as a paid professional as well. And thank you for providing the additional documentation with respect to the AVPA course. It really helped give me a level of understanding, better understanding, to ensure that we were not decreasing the rigor of the program, but offering it up in a couple of different ways that really make sense. So thank you. That was very helpful for me. Mrs. Washington?
Thank you. Very, very good. Thank you very much.
With that, is there a motion to approve this item?
I move that the Board of Education approve the proposed changes to the 2022-2023 high school program of studies as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you. And next, policy ECF, energy conservation, second reading. Ms. Howe.
I was getting ready to say good morning as well, but good afternoon. Let me find it really quick. There we go. It's thinking. There we go. There we go. So this is coming before you today for second reading. It's policy ECF, energy conservation. And it is coming before because of legislation that has changed the energy conservation programs that we have to implement. It was presented for first reading on May 11th and for public hearing on May 25th, and there were no comments. So the presentation today will be the text that was presented at the first reading on May 11th. The policy title will change from energy conservation to energy conservation and use. And the purpose, as was previously stated on others, we are getting a template that we need to follow from the state. So this follows the template. And really what this is doing is it's changing just from energy conservation and resource to implementing and how we're going to manage the program as we move forward. The policy statement has changed slightly to recognize that it is a responsibility of how we operate and manage our resources. And there's some title changes that we proposed in there as well, the first reading. And this section is where the real change comes, and this is pretty much verbatim from the template that was provided, and requires that the board develop a plan and implement the resource management conservation plan to include energy conservation, energy efficiency, energy purchasing, which we will continue to use standard offer service, renewable energy, monitoring and reporting, reevaluation of goals and targets. We did have to add a definition which defines school property as defined by the template as any SMCPS building and or grounds owned by the board, which will now include our administrative offices. And it also, the legislation also dictated that we would review this policy every 3 years. So we've changed that to be in accordance with the board's policy review schedule, and as well as federal and state laws and regulations change. So if approved today, my next step is that this policy now has to be, it will be on board docs, but it also has to be on a website within the Department of Capital Planning. So we'll work with Dr. Marr and his staff to bring this into fruition. And then as time goes on, we'll add the resource and management plan as we develop it. So the action today is for approval of the policy as presented.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Just a comment, with the gas prices and the cost of energy, energy conservation is probably more important than it's ever been. And I'm applauding the work that we're doing on that. And I hope that we can do whatever we can on the short term and long term to reduce our costs for energy consumption.
And I appreciate that. That is something that the Division of Supporting Services takes very seriously, in my office in particular, because we pay the invoices and we order the fuel. But it's something that as we look at our projects as we move forward, and we're going to talk about that next, maintenance and design and construction, we're looking at ways in which we can maximize our efficiency as we move forward and still have projects that we can maintain. So very important part, and will be included in the resource management plan we develop.
I hope you're going to still consider fossil fuels. In other words, we're not going to make it all up on renewable energy, I trust.
We are not until the legislature comes back with that. That was something that we were very concerned about this year, was that there was legislation that would have prohibited us from using fossil fuels in the future. So we'll continue to advocate for services the way we can continue to run them while still conserving. And there are ways that we can continue to conserve. We've done that over time, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you, that's all I have.
No questions, thank you.
And Mr. Davis, we will continue to strongly advocate at the state level that when we are in a rural community or one that where the bus routes are long and it is not feasible to plug a bus in to recharge it in time to transport students, we're hoping that we can convince the legislature of those extreme challenges, even if we have to drive them from Charlotte Hall all the way down to Scotland to prove it. But the effort is ongoing, not just with me on the May Legislative Committee, but staff being very vocal as well, appropriately so. So thank you, Ms. Howe. I don't have any other questions about this policy.
And MAPE has a facilities planning group, and John Magoon is a very staunch advocate for the work that we present to him and the implications of the change. We all want to conserve, but we have to do it in a way that is effective and efficient for students and staff.
Exactly. Thank you. Ms. Washington?
And thank you very much. We have been doing energy conservation for years and years in the school system. You have been educating students. You have gone out in the community. So I really appreciate all that you are doing and continue to do, focusing on energy conservation with a focus on our students, how they can do it as well. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion on policy ECF, energy conservation?
I move that the Board of Education approve policy ECF as presented.
Have a motion to have a second.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, still Mrs. Howe, 2022 Educational Facilities Master Plan.
It's loading.
We just have to keep Dr. Smith away from it.
It's a little slow.
I haven't touched anything today.
It's confused my afternoon. So I am very excited to be here with you on the 22 edition of the Educational Facilities Master Plan. And we've talked about this. This is something we've been planning for a while now. We knew that there were changes coming. So this is the beginning of some change to the way we do business within the Department of Capital Planning to get funding. And I would like to start off by saying, you know, we are at a point where there's a lot of change at the state level. There's going to be a new leadership. I've had very great interactions with our regional facility manager and with the interim executive director, Mr. Donahue, about the future, and I'm very excited. So as we talk about this tonight, I'm excited to talk about how things are going to change for the better for additional funding sources. So as we move forward, we are very used to a traditional CIP funding cycle. We start with this process of identifying projects and the need. We move into the fall with this traditional state CIP, and then we move into the local CIP. And that's changing. So we are actually at this point looking at projects that will start being approved. I'm getting ready to submit something next week as part of the FY24 CIP. So the timelines are going to change. Projects are going to run concurrently in terms of funding. If they're going to be in for one pot, the state is letting you apply for that, but they're also letting you go for the traditional CIP. So if you don't get a certain pot of funding, that doesn't mean that the project is not going to proceed. It may just go for a different pot. So very fluid. We're going to be very fluid in our discussions with the state. The Built to Learn Act funding, tentatively, St. Mary's County is slated for $16.3 million. We've identified that project will be our Chopticon HVAC limited renovation project. We've in great conversations with the state. I've had great conversations even as recently at the ASBO conference with the Maryland Stadium Authority so that we can start the MOU process to be prepared for that when we're ready to go forward. We do want to make sure we're taking that because at some point they will start allocating our allocation out if we don't apply for it. So they're very aware that we're looking to use that funding. New to us is the Healthy School funding. This is a competitive funding request, and it is for the most serious needs across the state. And as those have been addressed and they're coming to later years of the funding, they've now opened it up to roof and HVAC projects. So the applications are due on the 17th, so they're due next Friday, which is completely different to our cycle. And we're preparing to take one of our CIP projects, which is Great Mills High School Phase 2 roof, and we're going to make that our Healthy School application to utilize that funding as well. What that does, that allows me to reallocate some of the funding we have, and in the fall use that traditional funding to supplement our MSA funding, or Built to Learn Act, for Choctacon. It is moving forward, there's hopefully going to be more Healthy School funding coming. So once we get through the first roof project, we're excited to see how that might open up for us in the future. As we look forward to coming years, we've got the new priority fund. Still got work to be done. It will be based on the school facilities assessment, and they will have a calculation that will be put in place for the Facility Condition Index and the Maryland Condition Index, which the work group that is working on that will have to continue, and they're going to come back to that in the fall when the legislature reconvenes, and they will start working on that again. Right now, they're tentatively looking at FY25, which would be the next fiscal year for us, but we have heard indications they may push that back, given the construction escalation that we're seeing, and not trying to penalize school systems if they're not prepared to meet that due to conditions that may be out of their control due to lack of supplies. There are also potential changes to the calculation of the state cost share that will come out of that work group as well. As it stands right now, we are still at 58%, but we also get 10% design and 5% furniture and fixed equipment, which Ms. Langino has brought some really good examples of that on an upcoming project. So we're very excited that additional funding allows our local dollars to go farther. We'll have more state dollars, and we'll be able to advance local project funding in a better way as well. On the school facilities assessment, they completed the first review last year. We ended that. We are now starting with the new section, which is 25% of our annual assessment each year will be 25% of our schools, so that's 7 schools. We have agreed in St. Mary's, we've been advocates for this, trying to get it correct from the get-go so the baseline is straight. We have advocated to help them, so we're going to be one of the first counties that they do when they do the refresh. And what that does, that affords us the opportunity to be involved in the planning as they're approaching it. So we just had a meeting with them yesterday, looking at the templates and all of the work in advance. So we know what we're prepared for, we know what we want to do, and we're able to assist making sure that the data is as accurate as possible. The baseline is completed in June of 2021. Like I said, we're going to do 25% of our schools. So our 25% refresh will be the first 2 weeks in August. And it's a good time for my office to get that done before we get into the fall season. In terms of the master plan, there were some delays. We are still dealing with data resources from the Maryland Health Department as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of data is still not there, or it's not data that is consistent, so it's hard to utilize. And as we start to look forward, we're looking at enrollment projections, and that's something that the state is working with as well through the Maryland Department of Planning. And what is the return going to look like to pre-pandemic levels? And I think we were all kind of had an idea what was going to happen, and then the economy has now played into it. So there's things that we're continuing to monitor on economic conditions and the cost for families of homeschooling, private and parochial school, and the utilization of the virtual academy, and what that may mean if petroleum-based products and other products continue to rise, and the effect on the families. So we are closely monitoring that, and we'll know as we go a little farther through the summer what that projection might look like on the future. And we look at the numbers, you can look at the last 2 years, 2020 and 2021, and you'll see that there was some demographic changes. We did see a return from some students that had gone to other options during COVID, and we're hoping that we're going to get back, but we are still, if you look at the total enrollment that's available, which is 21,400 throughout the entire county, We're still in that 81, they'll dropped a little bit, 82%. So we are seeing a leveling out of that, and we'll continue to monitor. This is where things are going to start to change on our CIP projects. We have recently completed some pre-design studies, so we're looking at our projects. We're also completing and expecting the final report any day now from the feasibility study for our buildings. And what we're really looking at is we're pretty level, and that report really indicates we're doing well, but we have infrastructure that needs to be done. We have to watch some schools for their growth. But we're going to continue on with our modernization of our HVAC systems and our roofs to keep our buildings going. So Lady Marshall Dent Elementary School will be applied for through the traditional CIP. It's getting funding this year and will continue on. Great Mills High School's partial roof will be, no, these are backwards, I'm sorry. It will be the Healthy School, and Piney Point will be traditional CIP. Chopticon will be our Built to Learn Act. And Green Holly's HVAC and roof will be traditional, most likely as well. What we may do with that particular project is if there's money left over from Healthy Schools and some traditional, we may try to lump that together because we can have multi-funded projects from different sources. The one thing that we did talk about yesterday is the rising cost of inflation and cost of products, but most importantly, the timing it's taking to get it. In particular for HVAC systems, when we start talking about switchgear, the latest we've heard it can be 52 to 90 weeks before you can get a switchgear. So if you start talking about some of these things, and Selena is facing these, we ask the question, if we get to design, which they do pay for design, so they would be active in the project, can we pre-order parts? So those are the type of discussions that we're having is can we, at the very inception of Chopticon, for instance, can we go ahead and order some things that we know are going to take a long lead time so that by the time design is done and construction starts, we're able to get them? And the answer is yes. They're being very flexible and working with us. I also asked about projects if they come in over bid, because we're talking about 18 months from now. And there are measures that we can take if we need to put in a project, and then we can amend it. So if we get to a point, for instance, Lady Marshall Dent, that we need additional money, we can pull from our allocation and realign based on cash flow how we use our money to keep projects moving forward. So given the challenges we are having, the state is very receptive to working with everyone. So I'm very excited about that. Moving forward, as it stands right now, we would do in 2027, you see a gap between 2024 and 2027. We would be doing some pre-design studies, but we would come back then and circle back to Ridge HVAC and Lexington Park Roof. The reason for the gap is the magnitude of the value of those dollars and how long we're going to have to cash flow them out may maximize. As we continue on through the summer, we'll look at how we can strategically place those given cash flows and cost increases. In 2028, we would come back with the Forest Center's video studio renovation and Leonardtown High School's HVAC systemic. But at that point, we would look at that as well to see if there's anything else we need to do, like we're doing at Chopticon. So very fluid, and we'll have more information when we come back to you in the fall with updated increases in the state dollars. They're looking at that right now. They're hoping to get it out in July, but they're looking at probably an 8% increase in cost over where we currently are right now. So that is the Educational Facilities Master Plan. It is the beginning of the rest of our process of starting the fall CIP process. So I'm here for any questions you may have.
All right, Mr. Davis.
Just more of a comment than a question. The cost of materials, both labor and materials, is gone out of sight. I mean, we all can see at the gas stations. Obviously, I don't know what your contingency plan for Mr. Thompson has for buses, but in the future, making projections in the future, it would seem to me that the cost estimates can be very questionable because of what we're seeing. And you look at trend analysis and all, and usually things come up and down, but I'm seeing consumer, things tied to the consumer price index is fine, but the cost projections are going much, much higher than, the consumer price index. So I guess, are you making second thoughts on increased costs that might be coming up?
We are, for the Healthy School project that we're putting in, which is Great Mills High School's roof, I'm actually looking at the cost I'm seeing on the petroleum side, because a lot of that work is tied to petroleum-based products. So what I did work, Miss Laino and I, she went back to the firm that did it. I asked for an updated price. We've got one for today, which rose from $28 when we did the study to $40 as of now. But we're talking about a project we're not going to do until next year. So I added an additional $9 a square foot because I'm looking at the cost of fuel and what it's doing. So we are trying to base it as best we can on the future, but we don't know. In a perfect world, I would love to be at too much money next year.
Right.
Probably not going to be unless something drastically changes, which is why I went back to the state yesterday. We had a great conversation up at Mechanicsville and said, in the event that we do this, this is what I think is my best guess. When we get there, if it's not enough, what can we do? And that's when they came back today and they confirmed what they said yesterday would be what we would essentially do is we would rescind the project back to them in that moment, and we would rescind it and ask for more. And it would be called an amendment. It's not, we have to come back and ask for it again in the future. They would work with us right then and there to amend. And what we would do is we would draw from our next pot of money. So we would decrease it, but we would be able to move forward with that project, and then we would look at the ones coming up in the future, how we would address it. And that's new. And it's a great partnership, and I really am appreciative of the dialogue we're having with them.
So
Because
you
we're not
have
the only county.
confidence, you have confidence in this incremental cost that's going to be supported by the state? If not, you're going to have to start cutting things, aren't you? No?
I don't know that we would cut them. What we would do is we would realign and shift. We might shift something out a year so that we would have that money to move forward. I wouldn't see us having to cut anything. I really do think it would be realigning how we have money available. And that's where I said if maybe we hadn't used all of our healthy school allocation for that year, they would let us come back and draw from that, which is great to have something other than just traditional CIP. We have 3 different sources of money. Now, they also will tell us, and it's something we could consider if we had to, there is a revolving fund, loan fund, that could be purchased, you could pull from as well, and then you pay it back from your future allocations. So there are many options, and I think it's just we all have to work together in partnership to make it happen. Part of that is going to be having discussions with the county as well of how we're going to fluctuate if we need to.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall. That's all I have.
So I know in the past, we discussed how the state was changing their funding and how, how they would be doing that. You said that you're having an open dialogue now. Do you find that it's going well and how they are funding at this point, or are, they still doing it on, like, you use so much money for the past CIP, and that's what we're basing it off of?
So there are components to it that there's an annual allocation, and those have kind of held steady. The problem is we can't buy as much now with that money as we could. And the legislature heard it. That's why we have the Built to Learn Act funding, the Healthy School funding, and they did create the loan, revolving loan as well. If we were not in the economic condition that we are right now and costs weren't rising, there is so much money available to St. Mary's County. I would be going to the commissioners right now and say, can we come up with a local match? Because we could be advancing projects so fast. The reality is the money's just not going as far. So I think there is a great funding stream at the state. I think that the state assessment has proven that there are needs. The component that they're doing now is looking at some baseline stuff that they didn't, which is things like implementation of pre-K. So that's new data that we have to supply. I think they're aware the legislature is, and they're trying to find opportunities for us to have funding. So I think that there will be continued funding levels to meet our need. We just need the cost to come back down.
Okay, thank you.
And the state, the legislature, and the governor did increase the amount of money that was for building projects. I believe we're up at $450 million for the state this year, for the coming year.
In combined amounts, yes.
Right.
There is an unprecedented amount of money available right now.
Right. And that even didn't tap into all that's available, and those funding sources are expected to continue. So I think Mrs. Howe has proved over time that the way she phases projects and the way she's able to work to ensure that our capital program fits with what the state will fund and the way in which it will fund it has really worked to our advantage. And so I thank you for your work.
I appreciate that.
And thank you. You have looked at the contingencies. There are things that we can do. There are things that the state will do so that we can keep our projects moving forward. Thank you, Mrs. Howe.
And like I said, I can't stress enough the partnership. I have commitment from our regional facility manager that in the event that we ever need any assistance, that he's willing to come down and talk about the funding and how we can maximize it. So I'm appreciative of the relationship that's being formed.
I'm very pleased that things are moving in a positive direction. They have not been for quite some time. So, happy retirement to Mr. Gorell. Is there a motion to approve this item?
I move that the Board of Education approve the July 2022 Educational Facilities Master Plan for submission to the Maryland Department of Planning.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next, we have Classrooms, Media Center, and Office Furnishings Award for the limited renovation at Mechanicsville Elementary School. Mrs. Leino.
I'm trying to get the mouses. The mouse is hidden. There you go.
Which we will have funds to be able to finish, even if we have to borrow from the next, and push and push. Yeah. Because we have to buy these great chairs.
I tried them out.
Did
They're-
you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking for next
The-
graduation, the small green one, I've got dibs on that.
The avocado green, I grew up in a house that had a sink that was that color.
Very nice.
It was our stove.
Yeah. It was in the 70s, we loved avocado green.
Oh, 1970s for that part, 60s for that part.
Miss Lano, I'm running out of time.
Sorry.
No, I'm just
worries.
saying I can't pad no more.
I can't find the pen. Oh, where is that? I think we might need help because I don't see.
All right, you asked for it.
The bar across the bottom's not there.
Oh my gosh.
It is, but I think it's hidden under all those.
What the heck? Oh my gosh, we opened everything. Here, why don't we just do, what we lose our mouse to, there it is. Let's just duplicate the darn thing. And then
Very
let's,
cool.
all right, and when we duplicate it, we're gonna just present, and there we go.
Thank you, sir.
That'll mess up every other present thing today, so.
Well done, Dr. Smith.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm here to present recommendation for award for Classroom Media Center office furniture for the project of the limited renovation we're doing at Mechanicsville Elementary School. The request is to approve of the award a contract to Duron Incorporated in the amount of $347,888.13 to provide, deliver, and install furniture for classrooms, media center, and the offices, along with a contingency amount of $30,000 for this project. Why I'm asking contingency? Because we've worked a lot with the contractor to come up with a plan. We think we have narrowed down what we want in each classroom. We work with the schools, we work with the teachers, but we know at the end of the day, when we finish the project, we're gonna come back and we have missed things, or they like things, they want additional of certain items, so we want to have a little bit of flexibility in the budget to come back and provide what the school needs. In the capital improvement program, we include funding for this project, and the funding for equipment has been allocated over 2 fiscal years, 22 and 23. And we currently have a budget in this project for $500,000 for furniture. What we want to buy, what the scope is for this project is we want to furnish it all. With some exceptions, we will keep some cafeteria tables that are in good shape. They're relatively new. We will keep them those. We're gonna keep some shelvings in the media center. But other than that, everything in the school will be new. So the admin area is, the whole school has a hodgepodge of furniture throughout years. And we will be able to provide them not only when we finish the project, it'll be looking good, but it will be very functional and modern and we're designing for future, not for just today. How kids learn, how kids, how the classrooms are these days. I'm included a layout here of the admin area to give you a briefing of how the whole admin area will be flipped, where right now the health suite, it's a little room in the front that doesn't meet standards. It's gonna go in the back, and it's gonna have 2 beds, it's gonna have its own ADA bathroom and its own consultation area for private. We're gonna add the bathrooms for staff also in the back, and then we're gonna flip the principal to the front or half side with a conference room, and we're going to improve the circulation throughout in the admin. With all that said, we need new furniture to provide all those spaces. And we will be incorporating different styles of what we've learned throughout the furniture that we've been buying now, but mostly we're going to provide some kind of option where people in the office as well as people in the classrooms can work sitting down or standing up. A little overview of what we plan on doing: vestibule, some soft seating that it's cleaning, easy to clean. Administration for the secretary, some adjustable tables, and another area will be fixed. Principals also will have an adjustable table, and then some extra seating for health suite. A typical classroom will include the desk or tables, depending on what grade we're teaching. And then seating, we added teacher's desk. The teacher's desk has a fixed area with storage, and the round area that you see on the side, that one adjusted to go up and down. You can move it out from that desk or keep it there. So if the teacher wants to use it as a podium, they can move it around, use it as a podium. If they want to work standing up with their laptop, they can use it like that. If they're presenting, if they want to move it next to the smart TV and to present, they can do it too. If they want to pull a little group of 1 or 2, they can use it as a small group for the teacher. We're also providing the kidney table. And I have brought some seating here for you all to try and see. And seating has changed over the years. The furniture companies have come with designs that they study ergonomics and how kids learn these days. We all know that kids like to move. So what we did, we had the contractor bring several seats to the school, have them all teachers try. Principal Lynch brought some students to try, and the winner was that blue chair that moves, has a mechanism that it moves around. The study has proven that when the kids move and uses their core muscles, it helps them with concentration. So they all says at the beginning we were thinking, can we provide certain percentage of those? And at the end of the day, we said, you know what, let's buy all for classrooms like that. The advantage of that is for the kids that don't want to move, they don't need to move. It's a subtle movement that it's kind of like the movement of the ball, but you have the support of in the back. We also brought that other piece of furniture called Oodle, which is a stackable chair. And what we agreed with the school is that we're going to use it as for pull-up groups for the kidney table. That also has a ability that you can flip in the bottom a piece of the furniture and it stays stable. So what they recommend is provide two that are stable and one that moves for that kid that wants to move. And if they all three want to move, it's easy, you just flip it. And then initially we had thought about having soft seating in the media center, which we will provide this soft seating that I have here in the presentation for reading, for groups. But when we brought this other rocker, everybody wanted some flexible seating in the classroom. So we agreed to include two of those rockers into the classroom for those kids that need some flexible seating for reading nooks or for an alternative learning that we see these days. You know, not only we change our way of working, but kids also are changing the way how they study. For the selection of our vendor, it's Duer Incorporated. We've worked with them extensively in St. Mary's County Public Schools. They are a Mid-Atlantic furniture dealer. They're located in the area and they serve all these markets. They're very well known, not only by the state, but by other jurisdictions around us. They provide a very good service. The proposal cost is $347,888.13. And they provided different discounts depending on the manufacturer that they're giving us the equipment where we're buying. And it is all aligned with the contract that we're basing it. It's in a range between 41 to 56%. Includes the installation cost. The delivery, it's about 8 weeks right now. Most of the products that we're buying is from a firm that they manufacture in Texas. So the lead times are a little bit better. And that's why I'm hurry up. Right now, we haven't even started the project. I'm already buying furniture because I want to make sure when I finish the phase 1, which includes 7 classrooms, I already have the furniture there to complete the project and I don't have to come back. Warranty for this furniture varies in between the different pieces. But overall, we have a minimum of 1 year, which is what we always request as a minimum. The contract that we're using is a MAP contract. It's a Mid-Atlantic purchasing team. It's issued by Howard County, and it is for the purpose of buying furniture for office, schools, and libraries. The contract period, it's up to December 31st of this year, and it's a 3-year, 3 one-year renewal options are remaining. And I invite all of you to try the furniture when you're done. Give me some feedback, and I'm very proud that we are able to afford the best for our students. And I can tell you that the teachers are also excited about it. And at this time, I just ask that the Board of Education approve this agenda as presented, and I am open for questions.
Mr. Davis?
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Warranty on the, especially like the blue chair? Is there a warranty?
Yes. The warranty, it depends because the mechanism has one warranty and the seating has other warranty, but overall, the chair itself has a 1-year warranty.
I'm really pleased by the attention to motion, the number of students with ADHD that need to be able to move and adjust and just be constantly moving. I think this will be a real positive for them, and I'm really pleased that you are bringing this in and making it available for all students and understanding that everybody has a different need. Thank you.
I think it is wonderful that the new psychology is introduced in the way that students learn, and the furniture is based on how students learn. Students like to wiggle and jiggle around. All students, they don't like to be just sitting, just like adults. They don't like to be. So I tried out the blue chair. It was wonderful. It does help with core. I like the orange one. That's called the Oodle, the stackable. So it can meet the height of any student. And the green chair, they call what, avocado, I call it kind of lime. That's like a rocking chair.
Yes.
And I think it is wonderful. Now, was there a chair or some kind of desk where a student can stand?
The students stand.
Yeah, like they can, like the desk can be,
So
maybe
the-
not
the-
one in every, not the whole classroom,
Yeah.
but where the desk could go up and maybe the chair, and the student could just stand up and do their work.
So right now what we're offering is the tables that we have, that we're providing for each student has adjustable heights. And it depends on what grades we're providing, you adjust it differently. To a point where it stands and you work standing up, I have to come back and let you know if we can do it or not.
Just an idea.
But I do know that the one that we're providing to the teacher, it just adjusts very nicely at sitting at 30 inches and goes up. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm just pleased that Mechanicsville, who has been waiting so long for a renovation and a modernization, is that this is actually moving forward and to the point of ordering furniture. I think that it's wonderful, and it is certainly affirming for the students and the staff at Mechanicsville Elementary School to know that they too matter. And I think that the furniture that you've brought forward, especially having taken it to the school and let them try it out, try different pieces out, that it really gives them an opportunity to figure out what works in their program. I think also the fact that that we have done modernizations, we've brought new furniture into a number of schools as well as building some new schools, that the lessons learned there are carried forward into each new place. And so I see that as a real positive. I thank you for what you've brought forward. I really look forward to visiting Mechanicsville and seeing all of this in place and in use. So thank you. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Yes, and I want to tell you that you did a wonderful presentation, and it is so clever to bring in the furniture instead of just a photo of the furniture, that we actually get an opportunity to sit on it, to touch it. I think that's wonderful. So thank you. You just brought it to life at this board meeting. I move that the Board of Education approve the use of Mid-Atlantic Purchasing Team, MAPT, contract 2015-42 awarded to Duran Incorporated to purchase furnishing as part of the limited renovation project at Mechanicsville Elementary at a cost of $347,888.13. Further, that the board approve a contingency in the amount of $30,000 for this project.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We move on to information items. Freshman Academy Program, Mr. Dothard, Ms. Fallon, and Ms. Reck.
Get a large grip.
Okay, that works.
Bring over that little green chair for yourself.
I may be about the only person that fits here today, but.
Here's the kids, yeah.
Good afternoon. I needed a fidget chair. I'm horrible at sitting still. So my name is Brooke Fallon, and you guys want to go ahead?
I'm BJ Dothard.
And my name is Shelley Reck.
And I'm the instructional grant facilitator working for the ESSER 3 grant. I work primarily with Freshman Academy and Virtual Academy. Today we're going to present to you how the Freshman Academy is going. And I don't want to get ahead of myself because I think it's going very well. But as a background, essentially, Freshman Academy is what Fairleigh Academy was for freshmen, but now we've tripled in size so that there are 3 schools offering the Freshman Academy. From 2008 to 2021, Fairleigh Academy served students grades 9 to 12. Program very successful. 93% of freshmen in school year 21 earn sophomore status by the end of their 9th grade year. ESSER 3 funds now make it possible for Fairlead to expand to this 3 high school program for Freshman Academy. Fairlead Academy, as you know, still exists, but just for grades 10 through 12. Already said that. The Freshman Academy provides scaffolded, individualized, and engaging instruction for identified students for a school within a school model. Rising freshmen are recommended for the program by their 8th grade team based on a records review of the following areas: attendance, behavior, and coursework. The Freshman Academy is just like going to any high school. The bell schedule for them is the same, their calendar, their days off are the same, but they're all scheduled as a cohort in the listed classes here: Algebra 1 or Core Algebra, Freshman English, Earth Space Science, U.S. History, and then Freshman Seminar, which is essentially a study skills and social emotional learning and team building course. Smaller class sizes are indeed super important for this increased student to educator interaction. There are several Freshman Academy staff. One is not listed here. It's like the backbone of the program, the instructional resource teacher. I'm not sure how I missed that. 5 teachers, the special education teacher, a special education paraeducator, a dedicated counselor for the Freshman Academy program, and an assistant principal assigned to support the program. Freshman Academy field trips are also part of the program to promote the success building and exposure to real-world experiences. And as far as enrollment is concerned, so remember Fairlead had 65 to 75 students for freshmen, and now we can accommodate 3 times that amount. So I can accommodate up to 225 students. We went ahead and started with 231 due to attrition, thinking, it'll go down. And indeed it did. It went down to 201 though. So I asked all the instructional resource teachers, why did these students leave? And it was normal attrition reasons, switchovers to home hospital, or I think actually that was it, home hospital, and then moving out of the county itself. Yeah. But what we found is nobody chose to leave the program. There was no student or parent who came to the program and said, this isn't working for my child, which is good news.
That's great.
Some data on some data concerning the demographics here. On the left-hand side, you see all SMCPS 9th graders. There's a little over 1,600, depending on when you're looking at the number. And then on the right-hand side are just the Freshman Academy students, and this was with the 201 that I mentioned. So there's a higher amount of African American students in the Freshman Academy program. There are fewer of the white students in Freshman Academy. For special education, we have 10% for all 9th graders, a 12% of the ratio of the total for Freshman Academy, so a higher ratio. For 504 students, almost double the number of 504 students in the Freshman Academy program than in a regular 9th grade. And then the free and reduced meals, 27%, not quite doubled, but quite a bit more in the Freshman Academy program need farms. And then English language learners is equal, as you can see there, and they're primarily at Great Mills, since they have a very supportive community there. And then females and males, 47% versus 40% females in Freshman Academy. And on the males, there's 53% in all 9th grade, but in the Freshman Academy, there's a higher number of males this school year. Moving forward to their achievement, which is, well, I'll let the data speak for itself. And Freshman English, again, on the left-hand side is all 9th graders, and then on the right-hand side is just Freshman Academy. You've got about an equal number of passing rate between the two, just a tad less on Freshman Academy. Looking at it at any given day, it might change. At Core Algebra, Algebra 1, a higher rate for Freshman Academy students are passing. And again, remember, these are struggling students. Earth Space Science, 91% are passing versus all freshmen, 83. U.S. History, 10% more Freshman Academy students are passing versus all 9th grade at 83. PE and health is about equal. And other electives, all SMCPS, 80% passing rate versus our freshman academy students, when they go out, aren't getting the same supports, they're at 73% passing rate. So that explains a little bit about our program challenges. Staffing has been a problem. We have space for 3 counselors in the program, but we only have 1 at LEONARDTOWN High School, and he was hired midway through the year. So at Great Mills and at Chopticon, they've never had a dedicated counselor to the program, in addition to staffing challenges, as you're very well aware, across the county for math and for English, and then the normal things that you're already dealing with are also occurring within freshman academy. Student attendance, again, across the county, that's a pretty hard issue to deal with right now. We were looking at numbers yesterday and just amazed that some of the kids are actually passing even with all these absences. And then, as I mentioned a second ago, the elective courses are a challenge for the kids when they go out because they aren't as supported. So we are definitely thinking about what we can do next year to deal with that. Program successes, you can see right now 94% of this year's freshman academy cohort are projected to earn 5 or more credits. So pretty good stuff there. In comparison, so you think, okay, that's a number, that's a nice number, but look back, SY21, 93% of Fair Lead 9th graders earned 5 or more credits. So the intention of the expansion of Fair Lead is equalizing there. And then semester year 19, I didn't want to use SY20, of course, so went back to 19 and look at all 9th graders. 91% of all 9th graders earned 5 or more credits. So just a little more than all 9th graders in SY19. Program highlights. I have literally hundreds of pictures from these from these instructional resource teachers and all the cool things they've done. These are just 3 that I shared here. And certainly the list I have up here of the things they've been doing, again, a very small list. But Great Mills High School sponsors Hive Nights, which Shelley will talk about here in a few minutes, several field trips and quarterly incentives. LEONARDTOWN High School, which I know Miss Washington attended, sponsored the African American Read-In, which was pretty much organized just by the Freshman Academy team. And LEONARDTOWN History Field Trip, they decided to really highlight Maul Dyer and go to the jail, and then went to an escape room, and it had to do with, and this was all created by the program and by the community or the business owners to combine these things. So that was really good learning for them. And Chopticon High School also has their quarterly incentives and have been on a variety of field trips to include the Baltimore Aquarium, you see on the bottom left. That's their group there. And then in the middle, we have Great Mills going to CSM in La Plata. And on the right-hand side, LEONARDTOWN High School, that was part of the African American Read-In, where one of their science teacher, Alyssa Dawson, was actually singing. So, and again, I think some of you were in attendance at that, so you would have seen that. So I'm going to hand this over to the Great Mills staff so they can highlight their program.
All right. The survey, we conducted these surveys in our advisory groups. The advisory groups were created by all of the Freshman Academy staff. We included the IRT, paraeducator had a group, as well as myself as the assistant principal, and John Davis, one of the counselors, also had a group that we shared. So then we had there was 9 groups, 7 to 11 students. We collected feedback. We thought it was very important to hear from the students towards the end of the first year. So we created these surveys to do in our advisory groups. That the advisory groups, we plan to continue that through 10th grade because that group was created to support them through 10th grade and hopefully to continue. So, the advisory group said we collected feedback from all the students on how we were doing, what was working in the students' eyes, as well as what really stuck with them as they neared the end of their freshman year.
So the first question that we asked the students was just
do you feel like you benefited from the academy? We felt like it was important to get the kids' input on this. Coming back from COVID, a lot of them had kind of lost their stamina for education and their ability to like engage in the classroom. So we wanted to see if they really picked up on improvement within their self. And we had 97.6, so over 97% of the kids saw a difference and were able to identify that difference in themselves. And that's, you know, anecdotal on the part of the kids, but as far as us as educators, we've got hard data to back up their amazing gains. One of the things I was looking at before I came was actually our algebra middle of the year district assessment. And our freshman academy students, and you remember, these are supposed to be the students that are struggling, 8 out of 11 of the highest scores within our building were freshman academy students. So, I mean, these kids have crushed it, and I'm like the proud mama. So,
The next question we asked was if they would recommend this program to 8th graders, rising 9th graders. And it was very good to see that 95.5% of them agreed or strongly agreed that they would recommend this program to current 8th graders. It was very good to see. We thought everything was going well, so to get that recommendation from them showed that they actually enjoyed the program as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Camila Lopez.
Oh, wait. Can we take the mic off the stand?
Please.
Actually, hand it to Miss Lopez.
You might want to pull it towards you.
There you go. Nice. There we go. That's awesome.
Make sure it's turned on, please. It has the power button. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Camila Lopez. I feel like throughout the year I have become a better student. I would normally, like in my middle school years, I would be the type to fail my math classes and like not care. But now that I'm in high school, I tend to care because like I know if I fail my classes, I'm not gonna pass. So right now, I'm actually passing my math classes with an A or a B. And
that's great.
I feel like the academy really works because the teachers, like, it's not like in a bad way or in a like good way. You know, they nag about your grades, your homework. Your homework. They're like that fly around you that won't go away. And
now I got a fly.
And a quote that really inspired me, which I stole from Mrs. Regg's office, was, "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible," by Audrey Hepburn.
Why do y'all make me do this? Is this one you or me? I can't remember.
Regularly visit.
Oh. Yep. Okay, sorry, we're back. The next question that we asked the kids was, because we set this advisory program up to support kids that were staying within Great Mills and not maybe going to Fairlead, we wanted to kind of get a read on whether or not the kids would come back to us if they got stuck, if they had trouble with a class. So we asked this question if they plan to come back and visit with their teachers next year. Over 90% of the kids said yes, that they would come back and that they were comfortable coming back to ask us for help and to, you know, reach out for that, and those relationships were strong enough to go forward into the next school year and farther on into their careers.
Some of the field trips that we went on, we went to Greenwell State Park for team building activities, and every student within the academy went to those, and they had, and that was good to get teachers to see students in a different environment. Students also had the opportunity to get a glimpse of college life, explore potential career opportunities when we visited the CSM La Plata campus, the Center for Trades and Energy, James A. Forrest Center, and virtual field trips to Bowie State, as well as a informal session with military recruiters. All of our field trips aligned with the curriculum, and we also included visiting Calvert Cliff State Park, as well as James E. Richmond Science Center. And it was very nice to see that 72% of the students felt that the field trips were beneficial.
Hello, my name is Quentin Cole, and I'm here to talk about the field trips of the Academy. The Academy field trips were a learning experience. They turned a let's get out of class opportunity into valuable lessons. One lesson that I learned is that a lot of teachers, they don't tell you a lot about college. Like, I didn't know that you could test out of classes if you wanted to, or if it was too easy, and that most colleges don't have classes on Fridays, and and classes are not back-to-back, like 5 minutes to get to each class. It's like hours apart. On the Greenwell field trip, building field trip, I learned that team building is way more complicated than it looks. Like one of the tasks that we had to do is that we had to get a ball into a pipe, or we had to get a ball into a bucket using pipes. Each student had like a little pipe that they had to use the ball to get into the bucket. But the thing is that the bucket was like, I'd say probably like this room apart. So all the students could not get there in just one trip. So the students that were in the front had to run into the back and get the pipe, or get the ball on the pipe before it falls to the ground. And it was very complicated. It took like maybe like 12 tries. It was really complicated. People got mad, but I would also say that it also learned a lot. Like, you would learn a lot about everybody there, because they were like a lot of leaders that you would say that would step up to the podium, and they'd be like, all right, bet, I'm going to get into the front. The athletes get into the front because they run fast, and they'd be able to get to the end before the ball reaches the ground, because we don't want it touching the ground, we want it touching the bucket. In the end, the field trips motivated me to pass, because you had to get, I'm pretty sure you had to pass every class in order to go on all the field trips, and I learned valuable lessons that I would need to know in the future.
Thank you very much.
So the next question was Hive Night, and Hive Night is a Great Mills Freshman Academy exclusive, I guess, so to speak. It's geared towards outreaching with the families. This population of students, we want to try and bring their families in and to kind of pull them in and make them feel connected. So we created these Hive Nights. It was after school. Staff was amazing and willing to come in and put in that after school time. And we really got the opportunity to bring families in. We would feed them a meal. We would provide them some sort of enrichment type opportunity. We helped them set up Schoology accounts. We made sure that they could support their students. But we also worked really hard to make sure that it was a positive experience. It was supposed to be, and always was, a positive information only. It was not that opportunity to talk about misbehaviors. That's not what we wanted it to be. We wanted every student to walk away feeling like they were seen and just really important to us as teachers. 90% of the students stated that Hive Night was a positive experience for them, and we thought that was really great. And we had really good attendance on our Hive Nights. I kind of regret that I don't have that data, but we had really good attendance. A lot of parents came to every single Hive Night, and we really felt like we developed some relationships there, even beyond with than just the students.
Can I add that they had most of their teachers there too? And this was in the evening.
Yeah.
I think we had all of our teachers there, in fact.
That's awesome.
It's all you.
Good afternoon. My name is Harmony Clark. I am here to tell you about our amazing Hive Night at Great Mills High School. Hive Night is an opportunity for students to hang out with their new friends and meet their families. Our parents also get to meet our teachers and get information they may have missed like how to sign up for Schoology, Hack, or Remind. They also get to see our classrooms and some of our hard work on display. There is also a good food too, because it's dinner time. My mom was happy about Hive Night because she got to see that our teachers are really nice and really care about us. At our second Hive Night, our parents got to see our names on the big screen if we made the honor roll or got accepted to Tech Center for next year. It was a surprise. They could also see a slideshow of the field trips we had took before, proof that you can have fun whilst you are learning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, with this success, we are going to continue. Middle schools are right now, finishing up, and the high schools are starting to look at the candidates who have passed through the screener to identify their rising ninth grade freshman academy students. And the high schools are issuing invitations to those that they've selected so far, and they have still a wait list for those that they haven't accepted because the candidate list was longer than the spaces that are available. There are some parents also who have requested that their children get into it now that they've heard about it. At each high school at Rising Freshman Orientation Night, there were representatives there to talk to parents to say, this is what it's about. They're currently working to schedule students' electives, since that it was a difficult area for them, electives based on interests and goals instead of plopping them into a world language or plopping them into arts, thinking about indeed what are their interests instead. And they're getting that feedback from the eighth grade leadership to figure that out. I'm going to continue to track Academy student data as they progress onward through high school. So the ones who are in right now, I'll be looking at that in 10th, 11th, and 12th and check their graduation rates. And as time goes by, we'll continue to do that. We're also going to provide Freshman Academy teachers and support staff through the LEADS grant reading apprenticeship training this August 3 through 5. And I think you have a presentation on that separately here coming up.
Nice transition.
Yeah. There you go. You have any questions for us?
Mr. Davis?
Well, I was very impressed with some of the metrics you said earlier about Algebra 1 and Science and Space, I believe. These are difficult classes, and I guess comparing it with mainstream students, you've done exceedingly well. So the message I'm getting is that not only are the kids achieving, but you've got great teachers that are making this happen. So that's just my only comment.
I really think that your screening process is working because you were able to identify the students that would basically achieve the most out of going through this program. And like Mr. Davis said that it shows, the data shows that these students are successful in having a smaller class size, having that individualized attention, and it's working. It's working. And thank you all for speaking about your experience.
Fairlead Academy, from the time the program was implemented, has demonstrated itself both anecdotally, but as well as data-driven information that has shown that it has been extraordinarily successful. Not just, in the words of some people, dragging people through and going, all right, you got to check in the box, but significant understanding of the subject matter and ability to work through things. It is proven itself over and over again to be a program that's integral to the success of the students in St. Mary's County. The fact that we've been able to use the ESSER 3 funds to replicate that program at the 3 home high schools, I think is just an absolute bonus. Not just the number of students that we can serve, but the fact that they can be more so connected to their home high school than, we've tried through Fairlead 1 and Fairlead 2, but there are some limitations there, obviously. I am just hopeful that the success of the students that we're demonstrating, that they are showing, and the data that we're collecting we will be able to maintain this program even once those grant funds are exhausted. I appreciate all the work that you've been doing, but I especially appreciate the kids, the work that you've done, and your willingness to come and speak to us and share your experiences is very powerful. It is that was responsible for us extending Fairlead Academy 1 to...
It's always been the kids.
That expanded that program, and it's the voices of students that matter the most. So thank you all for lending your voices to this.
Thank you. In the beginning, when this first started with Fairlead Academy, students were screaming and kicking. They did not want to go. They thought it was going to be a bad experience, but based on what you have done, the staff and everybody working together, now you have a wait list to get in the Freshman Academy. I want to thank you for bringing the students. Thank you for coming, students. You spoke very well. It's important to the board to hear the students' perspective because you are the ones who we are serving, the students. And we're trying to make you and help you get to be the most productive adult and student you can be and become a productive member of society with plans before you leave high school. I visit the Freshman Academy a couple times. I was there yesterday and I spoke with students, and the students have plans for the future. They told me what they want to do, and they're in the 9th grade. Some said, I want to be in the Marines, I want to go in the Army, I want to be a teacher. A teacher. All right. An engineer, cosmetologist, law enforcement. They talked about plans of going to the Forest Center. I saw the teacher walking around. It was an algebra class that I visited. The students were engaged in the learning process, and the teachers were walking around checking the work, like you said. I'll say constantly monitoring your work. and the students accepted that and appreciated that.
Yeah.
So I saw it in action. And with the small class sizes, the individual attention to the students and making connections with those students make this program highly successful. And not one size fits all. There are some students, because of social emotional things, they rather be in a small setting than in a big setting. Mm-hmm. So our students are very talented, and we try to meet the students where they are. And the teachers want to be in the program. They chose to be at the Freshman Academy and Fairlead, and the students chose to be there. And I hope that eventually we can get those students on the wait list in. And the field trips are great because you get to see your students interacting socially and how they behave in the community. The field trips, the virtual tours, and the presentations are wonderful. And I also attended the African American Read-In at LEONARDTOWN High School that the students, the freshmen, planned themselves with guest speakers, and it was wonderful. I just enjoyed it. And you were there, and you were reading as well to the
I
students.
actually didn't even get to mine because there were so many participants and questions. I was ready.
Really?
I was ready, but
You were ready, yeah, because I spoke, and then I left, but there were a whole group of people there. And it just showed you the potential of our students given the right opportunities, and you are a wonderful group. I share your enthusiasm. I can't help it. When it comes to the students, I get very excited because you are the future. And because of you, I think we're in good hands because of what you do in the classroom every day and what the teachers do. So the future of our country is bright, and the future of the world is bright because of you, because you will be in charge, because we will not be here. We will not live forever. You know, you're young, and your whole future is ahead of you. So take advantage of every opportunity that is available to you, because some kids in other countries don't have the opportunities like we have in America. So do your best every day. I would say continue to do your best because the data speaks for itself. And I appreciate my board members for supporting this effort and the superintendent and all of you for making this happen. So I'm just elated with the progress of this program. And thank you all for continuing to seek the advice of the students, because if you want to know what a student thinks or believes about a program, just ask them and they will tell you. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming today. We really appreciate the presentation.
And it's important because we have so many presentations. It's paper, but I like it when we see students.
Paper, and then there's people, and you are people.
Yeah, and yeah,
All right,
and
so
we like to see people.
So Camila Lopez, you're set. You're going to be a teacher in 8 years. That's the deal. 8 years. I probably won't be superintendent then. Oh God, I hope not. But I mean, I hope I'm in something. All right, Harmony, what do you think? What are you thinking? All right. Well, great. Well, you can be a CTE teacher here too. You can be in computer networking at the Texas. I'm just saying. Okay, great.
He's recruiting.
Nicole, what do you think?
I think I'm getting into marketing.
Marketing? Well, we could use that. We need to be marketed too. I like it. I like it. We are. We're so proud of you. And please take back to everybody who's doing all the work back at the school. That really is wonderful. And what matters most are all the small gestures, are the things like coming back in the evening to talk to people. I mean, that, there is no great secret sauce. There is no silver bullet. It's just caring about other people and them knowing that you care about them, and people will even learn algebra. Not my strongest subject either. So,
The English major speaking.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Hall, full day pre-kindergarten for school year, pre-kindergarten 4 for school year 2022-2023.
I'm 100% confident because everyone else is, I will need help with this.
Well, I just put it on screen duplicate because I always lose the mouse and then I'm just floundering around and it's not as clean a look as the extended, what have you. But
Did they open all of them?
yeah, check on the bottom. I think they're probably still open in PowerPoint. Somewhere down there.
You're welcome.
Ta-da!
We're all helping each other today.
Yeah.
It takes a village.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am here to talk about pre-kindergarten 4 and the impact of the blueprint on our pre-kindergarten program. So really, the announcement has been made. You're well aware, all pre-K 4 will be full day next year. And that's a result of the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. And it's filled with 5 pillars, as you well know. Pillar 1 is all about early childhood, and a big component of that is to move all pre-K to full day and to highlight and prioritize income-eligible children for that purpose. So really, the nuts and bolts of what that means. Students that are free and reduced meals, that means they're up to 185% of the federal poverty level. Those children are the primary obligation to come in for full day pre-K. But the blueprint also allows for children up to 300% above the federal poverty level to participate in full day pre-K. There is no funding beyond that 300%. So any child over 300% is not able to be offered a seat. So as you can see on those green, automatically come in, 300%, up to 300% you can come in, and then red, that's more than 300% as the law is written. So income is the criteria that determines pre-K admission. According to the early childhood portion of the blueprint, that is the only qualifier. So children will be admitted based on verified income in rank order, starting with the 185 children first. Children over 300% will not be offered a seat in pre-K. I put the chart there, the free and reduced meal chart. You see 185, that's children that are eligible, and then you also see 300% what the income is and how many people are in the family. So a little bit of logistics of what that's going to look like inside the classroom. So pre-K classes will each have a teacher and a paraeducator, as they've always had, and an hourly aide for 7.5 hours a day, 5 days a week for the entire school year. That allows for the para and the aide to supervise the class, for the teacher to get their contractual obligation of planning time, 45 minutes a day, 225 minutes a week. If the hourly aide or the para is out, then the schools will need to provide coverage or put a substitute in for them. At this age, there have to be 2 adults with 20 children at all times. In the past, that hasn't been an issue. Going full day was a little more tricky. Another piece of the blueprint is Maryland excels, that's accreditation. So by school year 25-26, public schools must be published as a level 4 in Maryland excels, with a plan in place to get to level 5 by 2030, 2031. So currently, we only have 2 schools that are Excel, Green Holly and George Washington Carver. And Excel is typically a child care accreditation progress assessment that happens, if you will. Those 2 schools that we have, there are only 2 sites. That is because they are Judy Center sites, and that is a requirement of the Judy Center funding. So when we compete to win the Judy Center, you have to be in Excel 5. The Judy Center has worked very closely with those 2 schools and really taken a lot of the burden from those teachers. So the plan for all the other schools is to replicate the process that we have with the Judy Center and contract with an early childhood expert to help us. I have a sub-grant, and this was an allowable thing. So we're going to hire a contracted person to come in and really do the clerical pieces of this. Okay? The para expectations are also different in the blueprint than what we're used to. So by 2025-26, so we have a few years, pre-K paras are required to have an associate's degree or higher, or a child development license, CDA. That means that a parapro is no longer an acceptable credential if you're going to be in pre-K. There is, however, a bit of a discussion, and can't make a promise, it's a discussion, that may be grandfathered for people that are currently in. So we'll see where that goes. We do have some time to figure it out. CDA licensure focuses specifically on early childhood practices. It is written right into the law, but it's also been used routinely in child care facilities for many years. Also using that same grant where I said we're going to get somebody to help us with Excel, there's about a $400 to $500 cost per paraeducator to do this. So in that grant, that side grant, I have been able to budget for every paraeducator that would need the funds to do so. And what MSDE is telling us is that the Maryland Family Network is going to spearhead that work and walk them through whatever it is that they need. There's a meeting on Friday of this week. I hope to learn a little more about the nuts and bolts of it, but our paras will not have to worry about any funding, front-loading the funding. It will be taken care of from this side grant. So, there's an African proverb, it's also an Irish proverb that says, if you want to walk fast, you walk alone. If you want to walk far, you walk together. And so this is a learning curve for everybody. We're going to hold hands, as I said to the teachers, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to move forward the best way that we know how. So that is the story of the blueprint's impact on pre-K 4.
And if you could go back to the slide with the income eligibility.
You bet.
The devil's in the details, and it's always in the fine print.
Yes, sir.
And the blueprint for Maryland's future which everybody touts and says is a great thing. It is. And the initiative for all-day pre-K is fantastic. Unfortunately, written specifically into the blueprint was that funding is only for full-day pre-K programs and only for people that fall under the threshold of 185 or even up to building to 300%. We don't get, after this year, because this year they were trying to figure it out with enrollment and all these other things. When we get to 2023, 24, if the child is over income or only enrolled in a half-day program, we receive no money for it. None from the state, and the local is not required to kick in any money either. The bill, it breaks out all the maintenance of effort funding, and it specifically says it's not considered restricted funding, but it is really restricted funding because that funding can only go to this. Now, that being said, we are going to have how many seats available?
520.
5.
But that includes a separate pre-K grant and Head Start.
Right.
But for 4-year-olds, 520.
Right. So we have about 520 spaces available.
Yep.
As has currently been out, and we've got people who are registering and going through the whole process, and there's income verification and all of that. We may find ourselves with open seats. We are not going to run a program with open seats. So even though we will not be eligible under the current rules, we will be looking at any open seat and going back to the list and walking through risk factors and other mitigating elements of this. And we will continue to expand the program appropriately. And then when we go through the summer and as we get into the fall, we need to make sure that we are arming people with real information so that they can then go up and speak to the elected officials and the legislators who put into law all this stuff so that they understand that every single decision has a consequence, good and bad. This is a real challenge. This is an absolute real challenge. And on its surface, we all agree that's great. We want to have a universal pre-K, all about it. They came in and said it then has to be differentiated by income. You will receive no funding if they're over income. And then the kicker, it has to be all day. If they would have given us the flexibility to be half day and offered half or something, anything, but they didn't. And it has been a wrestling match all the way through to get the information to truly understand what's going on. And so to Dr. Hall and all those who work with Dr. Hall, who constantly navigate and educate and try to understand the actual real world impact of things, publicly, just thank you very much, Dr. Hall, for all that you're doing. Please know that we're going to have people that are upset, and we are going to do everything that we possibly can to serve our students as best we can. So this is usually an interactive part, Mr. Turnbull, but why not? You've been here for a really long time. We're 2.5 hours in, 3.5 hours in.
Smith. I actually didn't want to use my 3-minute window to say thank you, but Dr. Hall actually called me last night at like 8 o'clock at night. I missed her call, I called back, and she spoke to me for almost 45 minutes, going over everything, trying to figure out if there was anything that we could do. So I just wanted to
You need to know that, and everybody needs to know that in St. Mary's County Public Schools, the people who are working on behalf of kids, we try to solve every single problem, even some that are presented without solution. We will work our way through this. And the most important thing, if nothing else, we will make sure that everybody who is elected understands exactly what's in the bill they all voted for. So.
Thank you. Any
And with that, does anybody else have? So I'm sorry to step on the board. It's just we have been going round and round and round about this.
This is an argument we've been having with the Kerwin Commission as they put this forward, with legislators, with any number of individuals who should have and could have made an important difference in this. Their willingness to listen and understand was less than any of us would have liked. But we're going to continue to have that conversation. And when we have compelling evidence and compelling stories to tell them, we may draw on people to share those compelling stories.
I have all of our documentation as far as our income verifications. I would be more than happy to be a thorn in someone's side and leave this with you guys to use as a building block to move forward, if it will help.
Well, if you can stick around for a few more minutes, I have a couple questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Davis?
Compelling information. I recall in earlier meetings that students that went through pre-K had a higher reading level up to third grade. Is that true? I'm going by my memory, but I remember there was some metric that the kids that were in pre-K did better than other kids up, I think, in their reading comprehension.
There are a number of studies that say if children that have high-quality preschool experiences do better, they have the language experience that makes the transition to reading much better. Again, skilled teacher, the right support in the classroom, right family support, we can never, discount that, and an early experience. So, yes, that is true. Good point.
So that's part of what Dr. Smith was saying,
Oh, yeah.
getting the information to our politicians. Maybe we should invite them to Fairlead Academy, because some of the politicians, without mentioning names, I don't think they appreciate necessarily what our public school systems are doing and supporting our kids. That's all I have.
So I have a question on this Excel accreditation. Do all then the elementary schools need to have a Judy Center? Is that what you're?
No. I mean, it would be great, but that has not been an option to compete for that. If they have pre-K, they have to be Excel certified and they have to be a 5 by 2031. So they need to get into it in the next 18 months. It's just a way of validating and documenting the standards of practice that are evidence of high quality care. But there is, and it's got a lot of value, but there is a huge clerical piece to it. And
Yes,
so
there is.
that's why I want to get to replicate that system that the Judy Center has, because it's more doable for school-based staff.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Looking back to the time that we only offered half-day kindergarten and then we went to full-day kindergarten, the improvement in student learning and their preparation for first grade and their success following just skyrocketed. So I certainly know that all-day pre-K is going to more than likely have a very similar effect on students moving forward. Finding a way, I will just say that the Kerwin Commission's expectations with respect to pre-K writ large in terms of private providers participating in this is not turning out in even close, like 180 degrees outside of what they expected and what they were writing legislation
And
for.
also keep in mind that even private providers, if they can meet the level of certification and qualifications that they'd have to do, they would receive no money for anyone who is over income.
Over income, right.
So, I will give them the benefit of the doubt that they were looking out for the best of everything. I just wish they had been better listeners.
I'm all for universal pre-K, but universal pre-K is universal pre-K, which means anybody that wants to have their child in pre-K
before
can
you're
do
old,
so,
you can come. Yep.
and the money will follow.
Right. There were no restrictions on who could be in universal all-day kindergarten.
No.
There shouldn't be
No.
for pre-K
Right.
either. So,
Makes it really simple.
off my soapbox. Mrs. Washington?
Wow. Okay.
Sorry.
Say
we
something.
all know that the brain development happens early, and we need to do everything we can to jump on that to give students a head start in life and learning and those things. So I appreciate, and the standards are being raised for everyone, for students, educators, and everyone. The standards are being raised. I want to thank you for targeting funds for all paras who wish to get their CDA license to get it. And that costs about $500 a person.
Yes, ma'am.
So I really appreciate you making sure there's money in there to help them with that, because money is tight for everyone, and it's a requirement anyway. So thank you very much for all that you do with the little people. And I see them in the schools. I see them on Twitter. I see them on Facebook. They're everywhere, and teachers are learning. Teaching, students are learning. And we have a wonderful school system. And many people move to this county because of the quality of the public education system. I sold real estate at one time in my life when I lived in Texas, and the number one question is, what's the quality of the schools in that district? And that is, schools are economic empowerment, they are economic growth, because people will move here, which they are doing. We used to be Maryland's best kept secret, but people are learning about St. Mary's County, and they want to move here, not only for our public education system, but also the quality of life here. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
I appreciate
It's
it.
very kind.
Thank you, Dr. Hall.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda, FY 2022 May Financial Report. Mrs. McCourt.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
For your May revenues, we have a budget of $242.2 million. Revenues received year-to-date are $240.7 million, representing 99.38% of our budget. So we are absolutely on track. On the expenditure side, there are two areas I'd like to bring to your attention that remain of concern, and that is special education with the non-public transfers, currently sitting at an estimated deficit of $526,000. However, categorically, we are fine. And of course, transportation as a result of the diesel costs. You'll see that we have two areas, contracted services, and that is with our bus contractors. We actually expect that that line will exceed budget by $600,000 to $700,000 before the end of June. And then supplies and materials incorporates the cost of our internal bus fuel costs for our SMCPS owned buses. So in the month of July, we'll need to come back before you for a categorical realignment for your approval, and then to submit that to the county commissioners for their approval. For bottom line, we have encumbrances outstanding of $41.9 million, and year-to-date encumbrances and expenditures total $236.8 million for a total budget to actual of 97.78%. Are there any questions?
No questions.
Not for me.
Thank you.
None, thank you.
Thank you very much. Last item on the agenda, Maryland Leads Grant, Dr. Moore.
And I'm being joined by Ms. Bachner and Ms. Dvorak, who are partners in this endeavor. Right, so Maryland Leads. This is a grant program that was provided by the State Department of Education as part of their ESSER funds. In the spring, they released $133 million across the state for this program. In applying, school systems were given a potential allocation, and were invited to apply for these funds centered around 7 strategies. To participate, and those strategies are listed there: grow your own, staff support and retention, science of reading, high quality tutoring, reimagining the use of time, innovative school models, and transforming neighborhood schools. To participate, you had to apply for at least 2. We applied for 3, and those are the top 3 that are on that list: grow your own, staff support and retention, and the science of reading. Our grant was approved in May, and actually we just received the notice of grant award today. So this was presented to you as part of the budget by Ms. McCourt at a previous meeting. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this slide, just understand that these are the big chunks and how the money and the activities are broken out, and then we'll go through it quickly. The first one is grow your own, and we've talked about the teacher shortage numerous times. The traditional pathway of earning your associate's or your 4-year bachelor's degree and then earning certification or earning a master's of arts in teaching, those numbers in those programs are shrinking nationally, in the state, locally, everywhere. So that means as we look at this, in fact, the chart here, the bar chart that you see is the one presented by Dr. Farrell at a previous meeting that shows the number of our conditional teachers, because as those traditional pathways of earning your certificate have declined, like it is in the top line graph there, the state of Maryland has graduated fewer and fewer teachers for teaching over the last 7 years. It's dropped by about 1/3, while the number of teaching vacancies across the state has increased. So therefore we need to look for different ways to get teachers, looking at different pathways that they can earn, whether it's an accelerated certificate or working on your bachelor's and then while on the job earning those final classes for credentialing as a teacher. Those are the different pathways that we're looking at. So that's the root of the work in the Grow Your Own. When they come to us then, part of it is, what do we do to support them to make sure they are successful? We've had a pretty good induction program for years. They have lots of supports when they come in, when they join us. They have mentoring, they have coaching, they have school-based supports, system supports, all those things. They've been centered around those middle 2 boxes that you see there: the first-year certified teachers and the newly hired experienced teachers that we bring in from elsewhere. We now have a greater number in that top set, which is the conditionally certified. So this is going to mean we really have to differentiate the supports that we provide for them, because while they're still new to us and they're still part of that group of new teachers, they also are working on a different level of coursework and trying to receive or get those experiences in the classroom. This grant is also giving us an opportunity to look at something completely new, and that is a teacher apprentice role. So this would be a grow your own strategy that looks at building in potential teachers. These would be individuals who might be short of credits for their bachelor's even, or they might be a paraeducator who's working to become a teacher, and they want to get additional classroom experiences. So this teacher apprentice role will allow them to work side by side with other new teachers, providing levels of support for them, as well as getting those classroom level experiences and mentoring that the new teacher is also experiencing. So it provides sort of a symbiotic support system for both the new teacher and somebody who wants to become a teacher. So this is a role that we're going to be rolling out this summer. We met with a group of principals yesterday to get their input on how that can be designed and how that can provide supports within the building as well. So watch for more about this teacher apprentice role. It's a really exciting way to get additional people into the profession. Dr. Hall has shared information, and she's working on ways to expand Teacher Academy of Maryland and really reaching down into the elementary and middle schools to plant those seeds for individuals who might become teachers. And by the way, I like the plug earlier with the students who are here, that wherever we can get them interested in becoming teachers, those are parts of this. In fact, this Grow Your Own grant is also going to be able to give us some scholarships to provide TAM graduates and other future teachers to become teachers.
So this is marketing. So Quentin has it. Quentin
Right.
would be right
Absolutely,
in there.
100%. So future teacher scholarships, both for TAMs, for apprentices, for other for also for teachers, in how they can, if they need additional courses beyond what they've typically been able to take, we're going to find every avenue we can to support them to get those courses done to become fully certified teachers. We already talked a little bit about our teacher induction, so that second layer of the grant is the staff support and retention. So this is additional supports, and it says additional hours, but it's really how we use those hours for differentiated supports, looking at different ways that we do job-embedded coaching, additional walkthroughs that they may be able to provide, and this is an area where the apprentice can also fill in and help work with a class while the new teacher goes and observed another class and provide some of that free time. It would provide follow-up support. We're working with the colleges to be able to provide the courses directly on-site for our teachers, so they don't have to even build in a different time outside of their induction period. And then finally, a little piece here, and this was an outgrowth of a focus group we held with some of our teachers of the year. Is they said that really what new teachers need is they need those materials to set up their classroom. When they get in there, how can we get their classroom set up without them really trying to reach into their pockets to do it? So this will provide some of that funding for additional classroom materials. Over the last several years, too, as we've had to hire new teachers and we've had mid-year hires that have come in, we know that we have to do induction beyond that initial August. If somebody's coming in October or January, how do we provide that same level of support and orientation to the system and its supports? And so this will allow us some of the supports to do that during the year and orientation throughout the year as well. And then finally, another piece here, this was also an outgrowth of that work with the teachers of the year, is they said, really, how do we foster that classroom level teacher leadership? How do they help lead their peers in the work that they do as part of their teams? And so building in a teacher leadership academy and a professional development opportunity there. And then the final piece here is supports for national board certification. Obviously, with the blueprint, it puts an emphasis on that national board level certification, as well as financial enhancements for those who earn it. So this would provide mentoring, support sessions, and other supports for those who are going through the process of earning their national board certification. Now, I've talked really fast. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues as they talk about the science of reading, which is that third pillar of our grant.
So the science of reading really is just the body of research conducted by reading experts and cognitive scientists on how students learn to read, and really best practices for how we should be teaching our students that we should have been following all along. So through that, we are going to be able to continue our letters training, which we presented quite a while ago at the board, which is the language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. And through the grant, our goal is to get all of the K-2 teachers trained in letters. We currently have about 50% of all K-5 teachers trained. We're sitting at 47%, 49% K-2, 43% 3, 4, and 5, and then 65% of our instructional resource teachers. So we've done a lot of training over the past 2 years and are expecting to do a lot more over the next 2 years. We're also looking at paraprofessional training, some self-paced modules, as well as some support PLCs for them to meet with the ELA team to kind of talk about the science of reading and the best way that they can support the students in the classroom and the strategies they can use. And then also with our leaders, because we firmly believe teaching or training the teachers is key, but we need to make sure that our admin know what to look for during those classroom observations and when they're giving feedback, so that they're giving feedback aligned to the instructional practices that we are promoting.
And then we've also, and the Freshman Academy presentation alluded to this, we were concerned when we saw that mid-year data that even though it was 1% less than the ninth graders, the content area where our students other than electives were struggling in Freshman Academy was that reading class, that ELA. And so this came about that we had an opportunity to look at the Reading Apprenticeship Program. It is a program that we've utilized in this county in bits and pieces. For example, there was a small cohort at LEONARDTOWN High School a few years ago that went through the Reading Apprenticeship Program with high marks, and they've always asked me the last few years if they could do it, and of course the funding was not there. So we were able to do that. The Reading Apprenticeship Program, it is a professional learning model that is designed for teams of teachers to go through that professional development together that would be working with the same group of kids. So that just makes so much sense for the Freshman Academy. And what they would do is they would talk about disciplinary literacy strategies and best practices, so the entire team is using the same strategies and best practices with the entire group. What we liked about this also is it doesn't change any of our curriculum, our mapping, or our resources. You're using the same materials that we use, you're just implementing different strategies with those materials and resources. So we really, really liked that part of the Reading Apprenticeship Program. So we have put out the training. It will be August 3rd through 5th this year, so please stop by if you can. I think it's going to be Lettertown High School. I think just got confirmation of that today. It will be leaders of ELA, it will be high school literacy coaches and freshman academy teacher teams. I spoke with the Reading Apprenticeship people last Friday, and I actually have additional seats, of 29 additional seats. So all the high schools, as well as Fairlead, as well as the virtual academy, and our charter school and 8th grade teams have been offered the opportunity to fill those 29 seats. So hopefully we'll get some more people in there. The nice thing about Reading Apprenticeship too is once the teachers go through the training, they will follow up with the people that provided the training 8 different times over the next 2 years to come in and talk with our teachers, plan with them, watch them teach, and coach them in these processes, which we've really never had happen before at the high school level. So we're very excited about that.
With the Science of Reading 2, we are looking to refresh some of our Foundations materials. The Foundations program is what we use for our explicit systematic instruction in the area of phonics. And they are very hands-on, so with those little hands on them, we need to refresh them. Teachers use them every single day, so we're going to look and make sure that teachers have everything they need in order to teach the program to fidelity. And then we're also looking at additional materials such as decodable texts. We're really trying to build the decodable text libraries in each teacher's classrooms, because what decodables do is they allow students to read a text where they can immediately apply or practice that phonics skill that they just learned. An example of that would be the geodes that we shared with you a while ago as well.
And included in additional materials for the Reading Apprenticeship Program in the grant, we have $10,000 for each of the freshman academy teams to use for classroom libraries for the high school level.
Nice.
And then finally, part of the Science of Reading, we have that progress monitoring. So right now we use Dibble's 8 for our universal screener, K through 5, and we're going to continue to do that, but we also have the opportunity to take a look at using M-Class, where we can import our Dibble's data into the M-Class system, and it's going to help teachers group their students based on need and provide them with lessons for very targeted small group lessons. Right now, we already meet with teachers after each Universal Screener Administration and Universal Screening teams and kind of dissect the data with them and talk about good instructional next steps for each groups of their kids, but this is just going to take that to the next level and really give teachers a clear pathway for what they should be doing in order to support the needs of their kids.
So that's a very quick run through. For a very large program, in sum, it's $5.3 million over the next 2 years. That takes us through the fall of 2024. But a lot of really great innovative pieces to help us move forward with 3 huge and important areas to help improve our system. So with that.
Mr. Davis, any questions?
Yes, lots. You made very compelling arguments about the need for new teachers. You've got 30% you're losing, and your requirements are 30% higher. We've all talked, our colleagues have talked, I talked extensively with Dr. Smith, and trying to reason why we can't use scientists and engineers that are retiring from the base that are highly qualified. They're not certified. They don't meet the Maryland laws. They don't have the certification, but they got the skills. And
This is it.
Don over here might agree with me. It just seems to me, and understanding the restrictions, it just seems to me it's a no-brainer. You've got all of these people retiring. I can use myself as an example. I'm 50 years, I'm a flight instructor. I've never lost a student in 50 years.
Me neither.
Former assistant professor at CSM. I think I could teach a lot of your science classes without any trouble, but I'm not qualified. So I guess I'm cursing the darkness here. I don't mean to. But I think we all know that you've got this enormous resource in your backyard. And you've got all of these skill sets. And a lot of people are retiring at 60, 65. It's just this enormous resource. And I don't have the answer, but it just seems to me we should be able to tap into all of these skills. We wouldn't have to worry about recruiting.
So you've really touched on an important part for why those alternative certification programs are important. Because, as I said before, in years past, you'd be able to pull qualified teachers who both have a bachelor's degree and the teacher certification. Now, since the universities have not graduated as many with the teacher certification, there's still bachelor's degree candidates out there, and these alternative pathways that I've just talked about, that our Human Resources Office has been working with people if they come with that bachelor's degree to find ways and a pathway forward for them to earn their certification. So I think you really touched on a very key part of why that grow your own strategy is important.
Yes, and I understand the certification. Let me ask you this. Let's assume I'm a retired engineer from the base, and I've got a lot of skills, but I have no teaching credentials. Is there any fast-track certification process that we could do that can meet the blessings of the Maryland?
So the chart before that I showed that had the conditional certificated staff. There we go. Dr. Smith's going backwards for me. There we go. That group who have a conditional certification have a bachelor's and don't have the teaching credentials they're missing some of the teaching classes that go with it. So the state of Maryland allows for a conditional certification for 2 years and then a renewal for another 2 years. So that gives you a 4-year window, up to a 4-year window, to earn those teaching credentials beyond your bachelor's. So
While
there
you're
is a
working?
path that allows for that.
While you're teaching?
Yes, and to your point exactly, Mr. Davis, this is exactly what we're talking about. So we have to align our system, so we bring in people with bachelor's degrees or masters. I mean, many of them on base have master's degrees, right? And we're bringing them in as conditionally certified teachers. And while they are teaching with us full time, we are aligning resources and opportunities and working with College of Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, Salisbury, Towson, USM, SM, UMGC, to have an accelerated pathway certificate to teach it. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing. We are in a position this year where we have more than 70 people who are in that boat where they have a bachelor's but they don't have the certification. So we are working with partnering groups to have them come in and get certified as a teacher. It is a very large lift for somebody who is stepping out of one profession and into teaching. But we are, again, trying to solve a problem that seems almost without solution. But we've got a lot of people, and they are moving through it. So
that's all I got.
So I have to say that I applaud y'all for quite a few years ago when you developed the Teacher Academy and had the foresight of seeing that this was coming down the road. And I know that we're starting to see the fruits of.
Oh, they're coming back, and they're the best teachers. They're just unbelievable.
I'm grateful for that, and also that you have also put in the effort and the foresight too on seeing that what's coming down the road and having these alternative pathways to get the same result.
I'll say that I have a young friend who is going through this process, is a special ed teacher at LEONARDTOWN Middle School, and it is an arduous process, but is persevering and is very well regarded by her students. So we're, and with respect to the engineers who are retiring, I'm not sure how many of them really want to come back and do something like this. Just saying. Okay, I'll give you that. You fight with your wife on that one. But I'm looking at, I want to grow these people who will be with us for the long haul.
Oh, yeah.
Not for 4 or 5 years, but for, 15, 20 years or longer, so that so that when students keep coming along and their siblings are coming along, they're seeing people they know, they are seeing people that whose names they've heard, they have a relationship with, that they've already started that relationship and are primed and ready to learn with those folks. So yes, where we need to, filling in with folks who've retired, certainly, conversation, certainly have made it available to the Retiree Association for the school system, and I know our retirees know that they would be welcome back, whether it's substituting or whether it's coming back in some of those rehire positions. We are doing everything we can to make this work. And we're facing the same headwinds anyone else is. The value here is that St. Mary's is a very special and very close community. If you've been here and you want to be here, this is your place to come. So we will continue that, and I appreciate that you have applied for these grants. I certainly support the areas that you have chosen to reach out to, and I look forward to hearing how this all develops over time. So thank you for bringing it forward.
I look at the table and I see 3 very hard-working people, and I want to thank you for all that you do. We even have people at SMCPS who grow their own by recruiting in their own family.
That's right. Who else here is making tea? I made a teacher.
Yeah, we started our own family. Right. To grow our own. So, that's really appreciated too. And thank you for these extra efforts that you are doing to get people on the path who have their bachelor's degree, and so that they can teach, and you have a plan for them. So yes, you can do this. There are a lot of people who always wanted to be a teacher anyway, but they looked at the salary and say, I can't support my family off that money. I'm going to go into engineering or other fields where they could make more money. Now we're trying to get the salary of teachers raised, and so we're doing everything that we can. So those people who have retired or say, I can't take it anymore, I want to be a teacher, I don't like what I'm doing, here's an opportunity for them to join SMCPS. And with the virtual fair that you have for special education teachers today.
Boy, I hope we have 10 new teachers.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So we have a very educated population here in the county, well-educated folks, and who are committed, and they are thinking about, the school system needs help. The future is in the classroom, and I need to teach. We all started with a teacher, and without that, the future of America will not be bright. Everybody started with a teacher. So there are people out there, we want you to search your heart, your mind, your soul, and think about it. That we really need you, the kids need you, and we need teachers, and we have a path to get you there. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and I really appreciate it. And thanks all the educators, administrators, and support staff who are recruiting in their own families.
Yes.
They're doing it, yes.
If every teacher just made a teacher, we'd have enough teachers.
Thank you.
Every time they present, don't you feel like you're smarter after they get done? I feel
They're
like
wonderful.
you guys are so. I feel a little smarter. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Nope.
All right, then, the next regular board meeting will be on Wednesday, June 22nd at 5 p.m. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.